The legend of the Crimson Demon Clan begins with Suqing. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction. So please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter. And if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 1, I am the only one in heaven and on earth. Indeed. You're the most talented of this newcomer. He had to admit that his heart skipped a beat at those words. However, the chill he had imagined didn't materialize. Instead, a warm, comforting feeling enveloped him. What are you doing? Now, boss, you scared my baby. The voices of a man and a woman echoed in his ears, full of complaints and accusations, without the slightest hint of respect for the so-called boss. This boss is a complete failure, boss. Sure, you're also to blame for scaring me, but I won't complain. Seizing the moment, he tilted his head and looked around. He found himself on a small bed in a warmly decorated wooden room, surrounded by two men and a woman. Everything around him grew larger. He raised his small, delicate hands, clenched and unclenched them a few times before realizing that he had really turned into a baby. Was he right about his small heart? I'm sorry, it's just that I'm so happy. The man called the clan leader laughed heartily, unfazed by the criticism, with astonishing impudence. But there was a reason for his joy. The two of you have done a great job contributing to our Crimson Devil village. I must cheer you on. And I wasn't wrong, your children are truly the most talented of this generation. The magical power concentrated in those tiny bodies scares even me. When they grow up, they could destroy the world, haha. No wonder they criticize you. I suggest you read The Art of Speaking more in the future, clan leader. However, what he never imagined was that, far from being angry or annoyed, his parents' faces radiated joy. Really? Really? Destroy the world? As expected of my son. Great. Hey. I never thought my son had so much potential. I can't keep it a secret anymore. My son has the potential to be emperor. The man and woman cheered, as if eagerly awaiting that day. For some reason, he felt like the general on the stage, with his small back covered in flags. By the way, what will you two name your son? Do you have any ideas? The clan leader's words echoed again. A name? Yes, I'm a newborn. But why am I a newborn? I couldn't wrap my head around the idea. Was it because I was just born, or because I was always complaining? I didn't expect a Crimson Demon village to have 3 new members at once. It seems our Crimson Demon clan is growing even stronger. Indeed, the Crimson Demon clan leader had a baby 6 months ago, right? With these 3, we have 4 newborns this year. What a bountiful harvest. Why would anyone describe a baby as a bountiful harvest? If you don't know how to use the word, you don't have to. It makes you look uneducated, my father in this life. And why 4? What do you mean by 5? Ha. Indeed, the one in Saburau's family will be born in a few days, so this year it won't be 4, but 5 newborns. Ah, so that's it, 5, okay. Wait a minute, I remember now. He didn't know if it was the name Saburau, the terms Crimson Demon Clan, Crimson Demon Village, or simply the image of his parents and the glowing red eyes and black hair of the Crimson Demon Clan leader, but something clicked in his mind. This isn't right. Who framed me? How could this be reincarnation? Shouldn't I be reborn? And why was I reborn into the Crimson Demon Clan? I remembered. This was my second reincarnation. In my previous life, my company fired me at a young age, forcing me to live off the rent from my family's dozen houses. Losing my goals and feeling lost, I naturally became a housewife, living a simple and boring life. On my 30th birthday, I was killed by a meteorite. Thus began my first reincarnation. Reincarnated as a native of the neighboring island nation, I had acquired modern knowledge and was born in a similar era. With memories from my past life and a $100 million donation from my family, I quickly accumulated enough money to start my own business. By the age of 18, I had successfully earned more money in the financial world than any working person could in their entire life, becoming a rising star. Even the media boasted impressive titles like Golden Chrysanthemum Star of the Empire, portraying me as the rising star and the shining light that would save the island nation's economy. Just as he was about to use his memory to conquer the world and become a winner, Even planning to have the news tout him as a financial sage in his old age, he was struck by a meteorite again. No, man. Why the crossover? This time, however, he wasn't reincarnated immediately. Instead, he traveled to a dark realm, where he met a goddess named Aqua. It was then, as if struck by lightning, that he realized he had been transported to the second dimension by a meteorite 18 years earlier. The time travelers were right. Being hit by a meteorite really can send you to the second dimension. As for why he was struck by a meteorite twice, it was probably because she saw that he had traveled back in time, but not completely, so she wanted to help him meet the goddess. So, should he thank her? Thank you, and then the idiot goddess mocked him. Please, although the probability of dying from a meteorite is low, it is one of the most famous ways to get to the second dimension, along with being hit by a dump truck and suddenly dying from overwork. If you don't believe me, try it yourself. In any case, he successfully acquired the cheating skill. Come on, what skill do you want? Being killed by a meteorite, an event with such a low probability has occurred twice. I'm a little afraid of the future, so, please, goddess, grant me this ability. He pointed at an option on the menu. This ability? Your wish has been granted. Hero. May you stand out among the many reserve heroes and become the one to defeat the Demon King. Fine, let us set off. Following the bright light, he was reincarnated. Wait? Isn't this being reborn? This isn't what we agreed on. Was he going to have to go through the same old process, being a brat pretending to be an adult again, surrounded by a bunch of silly children crying and screaming? I don't want that. It's too painful. His face scrunched up as he recalled his past life. But there was no time to suffer. The dreaded naming ceremony of the Crimson Demon Clan was about to begin. Everyone knew how strange the names of the Crimson Demon Clan were, and many thought they were funny when spoken. And indeed, they were. But the Crimson Demons didn't give a damn account, gloating over their eccentric names. No. Being born into the Crimson Demon Clan didn't matter, and growing up slowly was bearable, but at least the name couldn't be so strange. He stood up with difficulty. The three clan leaders gaped in awe, no doubt amazed by the newborn's ability to stand, perhaps already exclaiming internally at his awesomeness. So let's do something even more outrageous. Under the gaze of two men and a woman, a baby, wobbling but still insisting on standing, took 7 hesitant steps in each of the 4 directions. Then, pointing to the sky with his right hand and the ground with his left, his tender voice, with an inexplicable majesty, called out word by word, in heaven and earth, only I shall reign supreme. And so, his name was Zun Zun. Damn it, in my excitement, I forgot to switch to my native language and ended up using Chinese Celestial. P.S. My name is a transliteration of Zun Zun, Zun Zun. Also, when traveling through time, Aqua implants the native language into the minds of each alien so they can understand what the Suqing people are saying. Be careful. Chapter 2 Mysterious Code. Time flies, the years pass like a shuttle. In the blink of an eye, Zun Zun turned 6 years old. In this golden age, when some cultivated Dao Qi, awakened martial spirits, and forged runes, he could only play in the mud at the entrance of a remote village, even having to bring his own cement. Zun Zun wasn't angry, just a little depressed and bored. He had prepared himself to grow up again, to wander around the village naked with a group of ignorant children. But in the past 6 years, he had only met children his age a handful of times, and hadn't had the opportunity to forge deep friendships with them. Zun Zun understood that this was because the Red Demon Clan only numbered around 300 people, and there were even fewer his age. Zun Zun. Zun Zun, a melodious voice called out from the distance, Zun Zun. That was his name. Because of his surprising naming decision, his parents had named him Zun Zun. It's a modern transliteration. Originally, it should have been, but the pronunciation sounded too much like a dog. So, after Zun Zun's strenuous protests, mostly crying, his parents finally relented and named him Zun Zun. Luckily, I was of a mature mindset back then, otherwise, I'd be mortified now and wouldn't want to see anyone. After all, no one wants to be called a dog every time. What are you daydreaming about? A light fragrance wafted past his lips when suddenly, someone picked him up from the ground and swept him into their arms. Turning around, he saw a beautiful young woman. She was tall, with long, glossy black hair that flowed over her shoulders like a black waterfall. Her scarlet eyes weren't intimidating, shining with a sweet, intellectual glow. Her delicate face, always radiant with a smile, was framed by curved eyebrows, thin and curving like willow leaves, evoking the beauty of spring. She was a real beauty. It was none other than her older sister. Sister Talao, it's me. Zun Zun, you've been playing in the mud again, your clothes are dirty, Talao said, patting her stained pink skirt. Yes, it is a skirt. But don't get me wrong, Zun Zun is a real boy. Anyone who isn't an only child knows that when a family has older siblings, the clothes they wear depend on whether a boy or a girl was born first. And the parents don't mind at all, they even call it recycling to save money. Zun Zun protested, but it was no use. He had no other choice, so naturally, he wore the same clothes his sister had as a child. But it didn't matter. When he grew up and had strong muscles, he would definitely have his own clothes. Zun Zun looked at the beautiful girl with long black hair, who was helping him with his clothes. Even half crouching, she was a head and a half taller than him. He smiled, showing his molars. Sister Talao, welcome back. Yes, I'm back. I came back early today, because I finished quickly. Let's go home. I brought you something delicious. Thank you, sister. The two of them walked home hand in hand. Zun Zun's house was in the forest east of Crimson Devil Village, quite far from the entrance. Perhaps that was why he didn't know anyone his age. After returning home, Talao began to prepare dinner. They lived alone, their parents were not around. His parents were famous swindlers, or rather, famous fortune tellers, popular among the nobility, who often traveled to various villages to help them solve their problems and offer divinations. Zun Zun, deprived of his parents' love for so long, did not feel lonely. In addition to taking care of his sister, he understood that his comfortable life was due to his parents' hard work. So, please, parents, please earn more money, so I can live the life of a wealthy second generation. I hope my parents are nothing more than Jackie Chan. What's wrong, Zun Zun? Don't you like dinner? No, it's delicious. He temporarily put aside his wish for his father to become a successful man. Now it was time to enjoy a hot dinner with his sister. After dinner, Zun Zun happily ran into the kitchen. Sister Talao, let me help with the dishes. With his parents away, Zun Zun had to take care of Talao, which placed a considerable burden on the 12-year-old boy. Because of this, he was very polite and sensible, willing to help with simple chores. After dinner, it was time for his bath before bed. Zun Zun, the water is hot, come. Okay, I'll be right there. At Talao's knock, Zun Zun walked to the bathroom door, quickly took off his clothes, and walked in naked. His sister, Talao, was already waiting in the bathroom. It was definitely time for a bath together. Zun Zun had said he could bathe alone, but Talao always felt he wasn't clean enough and insisted on joining him. It wasn't that he was shy. In his previous life, he had been the son of a wealthy family, used to being waited on by maids. His refusal simply meant that he didn't want to tire his sister out too much. He pushed open the door and entered the steamy bathroom. He immediately saw his sister, Talao, also naked. Her figure was slender but well proportioned. His reaction was, nothing. He had seen it so many times that he had gotten used to it. And as everyone knows, hormone production is related to age. At only 6 years old, Zun Zun naturally hadn't yet produced the hormones of adolescence, making him look a bit saintly. Similarly, Zun Zun was puzzled by a certain senior time traveler wearing his underwear over his head. What could have driven him to commit such an absurd act? Don't get me wrong, Zun Zun didn't condemn or look down on that senior. After all, everyone had their own experience, and there was nothing wrong with wearing underwear over their heads. Also, don't keep talking about underwear, it always gives you a taste of it. Come, sit here. Talao patted the small stool in front of him. After Zun Zun sat down, he began to enjoy his sister's back massage. Talao stroked his brother's soft, rosy skin, as tempting as a cracked egg, and couldn't help but sigh softly. Such pretty skin, really? Sister Talao is very nice too. No, compared to Zun Zun's, yours is far inferior. Even at 6 years old, my skin wasn't as smooth as Zun Zun's. Her words were filled with envy and jealousy. Could it be said that it was a child's thing? Even at only 12 years old, Talao had a great interest in maintaining the beauty of his skin. After washing, it was time for a bath. Perhaps because their creator was Li, the Crimson Demons loved to soak in a bath after bathing, using boiling water to relieve the day's fatigue. Zun Zun and Talao were no exception. And now, with his head full of fat, he nestled in Talao's arms, leaning against the small bathtub. How comfortable. Yes, Taolo lay on his back in the bathtub, enjoying the soothing sensation of the hot water, while Zun Zun absent-mindedly blew bubbles. Since the bathtub was small, there was nothing he could do but sit there obediently. Then, out of the corner of his eye, through the clear bathwater, he saw a mysterious code on Taolo's inner thigh, 934Q118Q741. This is the barcode engraved on every Crimson Demon at birth. It doesn't have any special significance, but the Crimson Demons think it's cool, so they engrave it. It's usually engraved in a private area, rarely shared with anyone except close family members. Of course, Zun Zun has one too, 647Q477Q894, but it's not the standard Crimson Demon barcode. Not only is it engraved below the abdomen, but it also has a strange heart-shaped pattern on it. He felt as if the Crimson Demon leader was targeting him. P.S. Normal barcodes are uniform, the only difference is that the private parts are engraved differently. Sato Kazuma once scanned Megumin with a barcode scanner and got the price of 940 yen. Chapter 3. This child is so terrifying that he should not be allowed to stay. That day, Crimson Devil Village exploded. Demon King's Army alert! Demon King's Army alert! Those who are free, please gather in front of the Griffin statue at the entrance of the village. It is estimated that there are around 200 enemies, so hurry. I repeat, Demon King's Army alert! Demon King's Army alert! Following the ringing of bells, a signal was heard in the village, a bit harsh. If the residents had heard it in other villages, they would undoubtedly have been terrified, but this kind of thing is very common in Crimson Devil Village. The Demon King's army would occasionally arrive to harass, leaving some of their companions behind and then fleeing. Zun Zun was used to it. Following his sister's instructions, he threw away the small wooden stick, got up from the ground, patted his butt, and walked home leisurely. Although the Demon King's army's attack wouldn't cause them any substantial damage, it was still a pain to have them come and bother them all the time. What if they attacked when they were in close contact with his girlfriend? However, the others in Crimson Devil Village were eager for the Demon King's army to come more often, which would allow them to flex their muscles and earn experience points to level up. One even suggested turning the village entrance into a tourist attraction to boost the economy. It was a truly mind-blowing idea. However, the Demon King's army was a dangerous force in this world, especially since their headquarters wasn't too far from Crimson Devil Village. Without military support, it was unsettling. After some thought, well, time to formulate a plan to become stronger. Zun Zun made a secret decision, and then. Day 1, playing in the mud. Day 2, playing in the mud. Day 3, Zun Zun, Zun Zun. How could you have sunk so low? Have you forgotten the plan to become stronger? Mencius said, born in sorrow, dies in comfort. This complacency and decadence cannot continue. Day 4, playing in the mud. It's not his fault that he didn't strive for progress, but his life has been too comfortable, his inertia has been magnified, and it hasn't taken away his desire to grow stronger. They say the land of sweetness is the tomb of heroes, and the ancients were right. Zun Zun, take a shower. Good. Hearing Sister Taolao's call, Zun Zun happily ran to the bathroom. His leisurely days only began to change when Crimson Devil Village exploded again one day. The difference was that this time it wasn't the Demon King's army that attacked, and the bombardment wasn't at the entrance of the village, but at the forbidden area. Sister Taolao said that the seal on the evil god, possessing the power to destroy the world, had suddenly been broken. In front of the evil god's tomb lay a huge meteorite crater. It seemed that the newly released evil god had become so arrogant that the heavens could not bear it and sent down a meteorite, shattering it. Zun Zun didn't care at all that the seal on the evil god was broken, but when he heard that the meteorite had fallen from the sky and the evil god had been reduced to ashes, he broke out in a sweat. Even his dinner tasted like wax, completely devoid of flavor. Meteorite, another meteorite. Zun Zun felt, inexplicably, an inexplicable sense of crisis. A meteorite is far more powerful than the sword of Damocles hanging over their heads. And most importantly, it is invisible and intangible, and you never know when it will fall. Imagine living a comfortable life in the village, playing in the mud and singing, and suddenly you are struck by a meteorite. Who could endure it? So at the very least, you have to become strong enough that you won't be afraid of being hit by a meteorite. Get stronger, you have to get stronger. Speaking of getting stronger, Zun Zun's first thought was Sister Taolao. He told her his thoughts. Do you want to get stronger? He didn't expect Zun Zun to have such thoughts at such a young age. You are worthy of being my little brother. Excellent. In that case, Zun Zun will practice with me tomorrow. Thank you, Sister Talao. Excited by his sister's permission, he couldn't even sleep that night, feeling like an elementary school student the night before a field trip. Although he was old enough to go to elementary school, since there wasn't one in Crimson Devil Village, he didn't go. The next day, when Sister Talao led him to a small hill and handed him a small wooden sword, he was stunned. What is this, a weapon? If this is training, how could I not use a wooden sword? The first step is to split this mountain. Don't worry, brother. I'll train you to be a powerful swordsman, but the red demons are all born great mages. He knelt on the ground, leaning forward in frustration. Zun Zun knew that Sister Talao was obsessed with swordsmanship, and out of curiosity, he bought a wooden sword to go with her. But after all crimson demons are born great mages. What the hell is practicing swordsmanship? Did Sister Talao think he was impulsive or just toying with her? The more he thought about it, the more likely that was the case. Seeing his brother so disappointed, Talao was slightly surprised. What's wrong? You don't like it? I don't like it, I really don't. Afraid of upsetting his sister, Zun Zun forced himself to change his words, but he remained tactful. It's simply not the training I imagined. Sister Talao, aren't all crimson demons born great magicians? Even if they're training, they should be practicing magic, right? Talao felt unusually embarrassed. Zun Zun then remembered that although his sister was 12 years old, she wouldn't start school until next spring. She hadn't even unlocked her class card, and accumulating enough skill points to learn advanced magic was a long shot. How would she practice magic? In that sense, it made sense that Talao's sister would be interested in swords. She must have bought a wooden sword to comfort herself when she couldn't learn magic. Oh no. He had unintentionally hurt his sister's feelings. Zun Zun realized his fatal mistake and immediately began to make amends, muttering words he didn't mean. It's okay, Sister Talao. The truth is, practicing swordsmanship is pretty good. Come on, let's start training. The goal is to become a sword master. After much persuasion, Talao finally calmed down, almost in tears. So Zun Zun spent the entire day striking the mountain wall with his small wooden sword, almost as if it were a game. Aside from his sore muscles all over his body and his hands numb from the shock, he barely made any progress. No, there was still a little progress. If the system were to display the numbers, it would be something like, life force +1, strength +1. It has almost no effect? No. This can't go on like this. I have to learn magic. Speaking of which, although Suqing is dangerous, it's actually quite beginner-friendly. As they can change classes even at level 1. There are even advanced classes like Grand Mage, Crusader, Sword Master, and High Priest. But the requirement is sufficient talent. And Crimson Demons, with their high intelligence and magical power, are natural candidates to become a great mage. Class cards. Crimson Demons only unlocked their class cards upon entering school at the age of 12. The only way for the 6-year-old Zun Zun to get one was to seek out the leader of the Crimson Demons. The leader who, upon birth, had declared himself the destroyer of the world. To be honest, Zun Zun had a rather negative impression of him. Even after 6 years in the Crimson Demon clan, he still felt offended by such remarks. But to become stronger. Never mind. At least the leader hadn't said anything like, "This child is so terrifying, we mustn't allow him to stay." Besides, the Crimson Demon clan always preferred exaggeration. He should get used to it as soon as possible. Zun Zun was looking forward to unlocking his class card soon. That would give him plenty of time to level up like crazy, and it wouldn't be impossible for him to become the sword master of Shilipo by the time he left the Crimson Demon village. Even when Aqua and Satao Kazuma descended into the lower realms and discovered that the Demon King had already been defeated by him, their expressions would undoubtedly be quite amusing. Zun Zun laughed heartily at the thought. However, ideals are beautiful, reality is harsh. When Zun Zun went to see the clan leader with great anticipation, imagining himself becoming the sword god of Shilipo and perhaps even being hailed as the unique genius of the Red Demon tribe after defeating the Demon King, reality dealt him a crushing blow. His request to unlock his class card was flatly rejected, and his path to the stronghold ended before it began. Chapter 4 You Regret My Shadow. A large house stood in the center of the village. 2 or 3 times larger than the others, its exterior possessed a certain majesty, instantly recognizing its uniqueness. This was the home of the Crimson Demon clan leader. A middle-aged man sat on the sofa, his lips pursed and his brow furrowed. Even after 6 years, he still remembered his face. He was still so annoying. Zun Zun felt his blood boil, his eyes glowing red. If there was a system, a notice, red temperature overload warning would surely emanate from his mind. The more he looked at the impassive middle-aged man sitting on the sofa opposite him, the more furious he became. Finally, unable to contain his excitement, he blurted out, "You'll regret this, Zun Zun. I am the clan leader," the man retorted grimly. Zun Zun's composure collapsed at this, and with a cold snort, he opened the door and stormed out of the clan leader's house. After walking a distance, he turned his head to look at the large house behind him and couldn't help but complain, "This guy isn't even old, so why is he so stubborn?" The earlier "you regret my shadow" drama had all stemmed from the rejection of his request to unlock a class skill card. He hadn't expected the clan leader to be so stubborn. No matter what he said, he wouldn't budge. No matter how he tried to coerce him, bribe him, or appeal to his emotions, there was no room for negotiation. He was so inflexible that he was even more aloof than a goddess who offered no hope, though that was still far better than those idiots who kept you on tenterhooks even if they didn't like you. Zun Zun knew the reason for the clan leader's refusal, and he had explained it clearly in their previous conversation. He feared becoming a line filler. In fact, before this, there were also members of the Crimson Demon clan who wanted to unlock their cards and choose a class before turning 12. After all, there were people as smart as him. The then leader of the Crimson Demon clan agreed. As a result, the young Crimson Demon, having mastered magic, got a little carried away and, believing himself invincible, fled to the front lines to provoke the Demon King's army headquarters and never returned. From then on, no Crimson Demon was allowed to choose their career early, and they were required to attend school for basic education at the age of 12. As expected of Crimson Demons, who are full of chunyabayao, his capacity for suicide is extraordinary. Daring to go to the front lines, and even provoke the Demon King's army headquarters, with him in command, he is truly a fearless and ruthless individual. Zun Zun wanted to say he wouldn't. But then he thought about how the Crimson Demons were mentally uninformed, and as a fellow Crimson Demon, it was understandable that he, a member of the Crimson Demon clan, would be the target of mistrust. But there was more to it than that. In Suqing, career paths are determined by individual abilities. While Crimson Demons are, indeed, natural-born great mages, many fall short of the required skills before they mature and thus cannot learn advanced magic. For example, the ruthless individual who challenged the Demon King just now only learned intermediate-level magic. Through centuries of testing in the village, it was discovered that by the age of 12, one's abilities are practically set, making that the optimal time to open cards and choose a career, and so on. In the original novel, with the exception of Satou Kazuma, who was already 16 when they traveled back in time, and the goddess Aqua, whose age is unknown, everyone from Megumin to Darkness and even Princess Rika Alice completed their job changes at 12. Doesn't that mean that by improving their skills to the maximum at 12, they can obtain a higher level job? I'm not sure, but it's very possible. It doesn't really matter. Susanoo allows secondary job changes. For example, you start as the lowest ranking novice, adventurer. Once your stats reach the required level, you can change to a second job such as mage, knight, or priest. If your stats meet the required level, you can then apply for a higher level job. This gives you a new goal. Max out your skills before changing jobs and obtain all the achievements. As for magic, simply put, is the use of magical power to directly and tangibly affect the world. If I can't learn the magic of this world, can't I use the magic of other worlds? Magic equals spell plus magic power. What a simple formula. He refuses to believe that he can't unleash magic through his own efforts. The next day, in the Eastern Grove. Oh, Lord. Mask of flesh and blood, the myriad, soaring high, the thing that bears the name of humanity. Scorching heat and conflict, sweeping south across the sea, advancing. 31 of the path of destruction, red fire cannon, yes, Wei, Shen, Hai, Wu, Yin. Fire style, great fireball technique. This is the flame of origin, the flame of the end, the forbidden power of the present, the past, the future, and beyond all. Oh, flame. I am the destroyer, the cold-blooded and ruthless. Now, with my blood, with my flesh, I break the commandments of the ancient gods. Blast. Zazis, Naznazis, manifest yourselves, No matter how many strange and impressive gestures he made, Zun Zun's outstretched right hand remained motionless. Could it be possible that Jojo couldn't stand? No, he took it for granted. Not only could he not use magic from other worlds, but even his own was useless. Although he knew the spells and the principles of magic, he couldn't unleash them. He couldn't even sense the magic churning within him. Zun Zun wiped the sweat from his forehead and sat on a stone, his hand resting on his chin in a thinking posture. What had gone wrong? Was he too ambitious to choose such a difficult spell? Besides, he had tried elemental magic from other worlds and his own, but nothing had changed. Or was his method wrong? Magic spell plus mana? He didn't quite understand. No matter, he didn't expect much either. So why not forego the spells and go for something simpler? Take the Rasengan, the Kamehameha, magic missiles, and other skills that simply materialized mana. Just do it. He regained his composure, half crouching in a lunge position. Grasping his right wrist with his left hand, he desperately tried to mobilize the mana within him, gathering it into coil in his palm. This was the Rasengan, the unincorporated ninjutsu. His screams grew louder, his body tensed, his eyes reddened, and sweat gradually beaded on his forehead. He was using every ounce of his strength. They say kids find it easy the first time, so why was it so difficult? It was no wonder this method was difficult. It must be remembered that Suqing has always used mana to manifest magic, and no one has materialized it in such a simple and crude way as Zun Zun. Not only is the conversion rate low, but success is also uncertain. But it was worth a try. This unprecedented feat would be his. A surge of ambition welled up within him. Zun Zun was, after all, a crimson demon, naturally prone to Chunyabaku, secondary tendencies, so he pushed himself even harder, determined to succeed or die. I'm sorry. The power hidden in my right hand, the power of the king. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a person hiding behind a tree not far away, poking his head out, his eyes filled with excitement and relief. Seeing her, Zun Zun's passionate cries subconsciously faded, and his sudden change in tone was laughable. But now he couldn't laugh. Sister Cheat, has this day finally come? As expected, Zun Zun is also a crimson demon. You've finally awakened, sister, I'm so touched. Keep going, you're the best. Your right hand must hide extraordinary power. Sister, I believe in you. Wait a minute. Misunderstanding. I don't have a Chunyabayao. Sister Cheat, I really don't have the Chunyabayao. The misunderstood Zun Zun groaned loudly. Chapter 5 No one understands cultivation better than I do. In the deserted forest, chanting spells loudly and making strange movements, Zun Zun was speechless. In the end, his sister misunderstood him, believing him to possess Chunyabayao. But, on second thought, it didn't seem so serious. All members of the Crimson Demon clan wore Chunyabayao. Normal people were considered weird there, while those with Chunyabayao were more popular. He earned his New Year's money every year by performing Chunyabayao acts in front of his parents. He was already familiar with the whole thing. Besides, most people who work in mental hospitals suffer from some mental illness. Wasn't Harley Quinn a clear example? In short, he needed to focus more on his training. Unfortunately, his path to becoming a Grand Mage before the age of 12 was blocked. The stubborn clan leader wouldn't budge, no matter what. At the very least, he had a responsibility to keep Zun Zun from becoming a filler, but that didn't mean he couldn't train. Magic was magic, and magical power was magical power. If he couldn't train magic, couldn't he train magical power? He had a new idea. The so-called quality, magical power, is inherent to everyone, not something acquired only by unlocking a class card. Ultimately, magical power is no different from energies like chakra, spiritual power, ki, or even suna. With the right method, it can be continuously increased. Therefore, other cultivation methods can be freely applied to magical power. And it's not limited to magical training, physical training must also be emphasized. Basic training involves 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run. Intermediate training involves using chakra to climb trees and stay afloat to control magical power. Advanced training involves practicing 10,000 direct strikes daily, like a sincere prayer. His mind seemed to have taken flight, steadily soaring through a sea of delusion. Only then did Zun Zun finally awaken. There was no need to seek help from others on the path of cultivation. In Zun Zun's mind, countless cultivation methods existed, That was his innate advantage. No one understands cultivation better than I do. Zun Zun couldn't help but make the king of understanding gesture. And don't forget, he has a trick. Since he had been reincarnated into a baby who needed to slowly grow back up, Zun Zun thought the trick Aqua had promised him had worn off. But when he no longer felt the ill effects of yesterday's mountain run with a small wooden sword, muscle aches and numbness in his hands, and instead felt refreshed and energized, he knew the idiot goddess hadn't abandoned him. The trick had successfully loaded God's body. From the list of available tricks, Zun Zun chose it instantly. For the simple reason that it was the only one that could withstand meteorites. By the way, tricks aren't chosen randomly. During the time travel, Aqua presented him with a list of cheats, and he had to choose from a limited selection. Of course, Zun Zun also saw more well-known and powerful cheats like Magic Sword Gram, but he didn't choose it for the reasons already mentioned. The magic sword might not be able to split meteorites, and its upper limit couldn't compare to the divine body. The cheat's description read, possessed a body like that of a god, gradually reaching perfection. This concise and comprehensive explanation highlighted its potential. Zun Zun pursed his lips. The only problem was that he needed to reactivate or refine his body, which seemed to be largely related to his transformation into a baby. Don't think too hard about it, having the cheat was already enough. Luckily, he didn't have a momentary lapse and chose the stupid goddess cheat like Satou Kazuma, otherwise, it would have been chaos. Luckily, he selected the cheat carefully. Next, he would follow his training plan and begin his path to strength. Training was painful. It wasn't something you could talk about when it came to getting stronger, especially when it came to physical training. Every day, he was on the verge of exhaustion and almost collapsing. Luckily, the daily, all attributes +1, which made him feel slightly stronger today than yesterday, was a meager reward. Otherwise, even with his amazing resilience, Zun Zun would have resisted the training. After all, no one was like that perverted knight, Darkness, who reveled in exhaustion and grew increasingly aroused by it, even to the point where her abs were incredibly pronounced by the end. Wait, didn't that mean he could build abs too? So he intensified his training. In the morning, he would practice the bald head method and then practice 10,000 punches in a row. At noon, he would climb trees and wade through water. From the afternoon until late at night, he would make up for the remaining 10,000 punches in a row. Whenever he had time, he practiced swordsmanship with Sister Taoluo. He believed that, in the long run, he would soon become the strongest of the Crimson Demons, defeat the Demon King, become the new clan leader, marry a beautiful and wealthy woman, and reach the pinnacle of his life. So it should be. Zun Zun thought it would be, but a problem plagued him. That was a week after he had begun his training. After a day of training, exhausted and hungry, Zun Zun returned home. Naturally, the aroma of Sister Taoluo's delicious cooking was irresistible. He sat down at the table and devoured the entire dinner like a whirlwind, without even waiting for the dishes to arrive. In less than a few minutes, seeing the shiny, clean dishes on the table, as if they were new, and holding the last bowl of thick soup in his hands, Taolao was completely stunned. He didn't even have time to pick up his chopsticks. Seeing her brother lying face up on the chair, panting with his belly swollen, the girl was very worried. Zun Zun, are you okay? What, aren't you uncomfortable eating so much? You've had an increased appetite lately. What happened? Well, since the dinner Sister Taolao made was so delicious, I accidentally, Zun Zun scratched his head in feigned embarrassment. And he understood that cultivation requires proper nutrition, especially physical cultivation. Even Superman needs to bask in the sun to replenish energy and strengthen his body. How would Zun Zun need to consume nutrients? And as everyone knows, the stronger the body, the more energy nutrients it needs. Be that as it may, we should at least abide by the law of conservation of energy, shouldn't we? I'm glad you said so, Zun Zun. But I've been making extra dinners for a few days now, and it's still not enough. Really? Really, it doesn't matter. You're still growing, so it's good to eat more. Don't worry, I'll make more dinner tomorrow, and the taste won't be any less. Thank you, Sister Taolao. A silly smile surfaced, but this also cemented Zun Zun's resolve to do something. After all, nutrition is essential for a strong body. But Zun Zun's family isn't wealthy. While his parents have some savings from their jobs, their body's nutritional needs will increase over time, and there will come a time when they won't be able to afford it. Look at the gluttonous Saiyan Son Goku, how he reduced the once wealthy Bull Demon King family to such poverty. His parents wouldn't say anything if he continued to eat like this, but living off their savings wasn't his style, even when he was forced to do so in his previous life after being optimized. If he didn't want to devour his home and family, and end up living on the streets with Sister Talao, he had to find a way to resolve his current situation. But at only 6 years old and with no skills, he couldn't become an adventurer or earn money by completing quests. After much thought, he came up with a single solution: farming and becoming self-sufficient. Zun Zun never imagined that over time he would go from leveling up in another world by killing monsters to farming daily in another world. Chapter 6. Oh God, it begins. When it comes to farming, Zun Zun is no stranger. In both his previous life and the one before that, he always excelled at it. In his previous life, he was forced into farming due to his family's poverty. Wealth came later. In his previous life, his grandfather, true to the ancestral motto of one must experience the suffering of others, forced him to experience the hardships of farming. In short, farming was already a skill he had mastered. It was just that his frail build made cultivating the land a little difficult. There was no problem, he considered it part of his training. The Crimson Demon Village didn't restrict farming to its members, but due to frequent harassment by the Demon King's army, the fields were often destroyed, so only a small number of people engaged in it. Zun Zun's family wasn't one of them. After all, his parents were professional swindlers, no, professional fortune tellers. They could make money simply by talking, a much easier path than farming, so he had to fend for himself to cultivate the land. So Zun Zun went to the storehouse, a shovel slung over his shoulder, and walked deep into the forest without looking back, as if he had made a firm decision. Why a shovel? Because the shovel-wielding class is exceptionally powerful. It's not that there aren't any hoes in the storehouse, not at all. Cultivating is no easy task. The first step is finding good land. However, most of the fertile land in Crimson Devil Village has already been planted by others, forcing Zun Zun to run through the mountains like a monkey, looking for his own piece of land. Monkey God, get active. But as he ventured deeper into the mountains behind Crimson Devil Village, he quickly got lost. Towering trees surrounded him, preventing him from finding his way. The only path he followed led nowhere. Walking along this rural road, Zun Zun unwittingly came across a unique place. Where am I going? Is this still the Crimson Devil Village? He looked at the steel jungle before him. Confusion flooded him. The road marked the dividing line. In front of him rose great technologically advanced steel buildings, and behind them stretched a rustic path of primitive beauty. Such abrupt connections were truly disconcerting. Zun Zun immediately understood that this was forbidden territory. Sister Taolao had once warned him not to venture into the forbidden area, as it housed a terrifying evil deity capable of destroying the world. In general, forbidden areas held a strong attraction for the Crimson Devils, who were abundant in Chuanyibayao. After all, places declared no entry, nothing here, and no approach often contained treasures. Sister Talao's words were more of an encouragement for him to take a risk. Unfortunately, Zun Zun wasn't a Chuanyibayao, but an ordinary person. Furthermore, a meteorite had recently fallen from the sky, so even without anyone telling him to explore the area later, he was deeply reluctant to leave. After much deliberation, he ultimately chose this location. There were two reasons for this. One was that the soil here was excellent. Based on his nearly 20 years of farming experience, he knew it would produce a bountiful harvest, and it would be a shame to abandon it. The other was that the forbidden area was rarely visited, not even by the Crimson Demons, let alone the Demon King's army, who couldn't even enter the Crimson Demon gates. This ensured that his fields would remain untouched. But this place was hit by a meteorite. Don't overthink it. It's common sense that high profits come with higher risks, but I don't think the same place could be hit by a meteorite twice. The forbidden area is vast. Judging from the total area of Crimson Devil Village, the forbidden area to village ratio is roughly 3:2. The steel buildings behind it take up almost the entire back mountain. So, wouldn't it be enough for him to simply stay away from the meteorite? Zun Zun quickly chose a location. This seemed to be the boundary of an altar, but the central altar, like the rural buildings in Crimson Devil Village, looked dilapidated and reeked of history. Gazing at the dilapidated altar, Zun Zun's heart shuddered. Could there also be an evil god sealed there? The original book doesn't mention it. No. Sister Taolao clearly stated that only an evil god was sealed in the forbidden area, and now that it had been reduced to ashes by the meteorite, there was no need to fear. More importantly, There was a small river not far away. This would save him a lot of time irrigating his farmland. Okay, for my own food, although his farming tools weren't very useful, Zun Zun swung his shovel in circles, digging vigorously into the flat ground. Yuan Shen, start. Breaking ground proved far more difficult than he had imagined. In his previous life and the one before that, the fields Zun Zun had farmed were already cultivated. He had simply plowed the land and applied fertilizer. As if one plants trees, another enjoys the shade. Now, he had to do the digging, bit by bit, himself. The difficulty was obvious. But the thought of being able to feed himself without being a burden to his family, and even being able to sell the surplus harvest to earn money and help his family, suddenly filled Zun Zun with strength, and a smile spread across his face. Yuan Shen, start. As he dug deeper, the earth gradually softened, but soon Zun Zun noticed something unusual. A sweet, black liquid was oozing out from beneath the ground like a small spring. This is, Zun Zun squatted down, dipped his finger in a bit, and sniffed it gently. Then, he gazed at the gigantic steel structure not far from the back mountain and fell silent. He seemed to understand why Old Man Deng, the creator of the Crimson Demon clan, had built the Crimson Demon village there. Yes, that's right. Zun Zun had struck oil. In his previous life, or the one before that, although he wouldn't have made it onto the rich list, he would have been more than a billionaire. However, this was a different world, and there was no place for oil. It was like sitting on a mountain of treasure without being able to do anything with it. It was truly frustrating. You say he should build the machine himself? Come on, he studied management and finance, not invention. Besides, he had never studied those things. Who would have imagined that after traveling once, he could travel twice? The odds of winning the lottery twice in a row were much lower. It wasn't just luck lifting his skirt for him, this was spreading her legs for him. Wait, wasn't Eris in a pinch either? Seeing how the oil kept flowing, Zun Zun stopped digging and returned home. The next day, he came back with a tricolor flag in his hand. The blue square in the upper left corner was covered with countless little stars. He simply stuck the flag into the ground and sat there waiting, like that all day. Only when the sun set did he pat his butt and stand up, sighing. Looks like not even America can make it to the next world. Chapter 7, Cultivating Silently, then Shocking Everyone. This piece of land was probably invincible. Gazing at the earth oozing black gold, Zun Zun suppressed the urge to cry and covered himself. In a state of famine, even the finest gems in the world were of no use unless they could buy a loaf of bread, so he decided to ignore them. Then he began to cultivate the land on the other side of the altar. This time, everything went well, even though all his previous efforts had been in vain. But as long as everything went well, everything was fine. Gathering his strength, he swung the shovel vigorously. Oh, God, start. Zun Zun came there every day to cultivate the land, and it took him a full month to finally create his own third of an acre of land. A genuine third of an acre of land, about 1,000 square meters. He didn't intend to spend that much time, but with his 6-year-old build and the clumsy shovel as a farming tool, achieving this level of progress was a remarkable feat. Only thanks to a special trick, a divine body with exceptional resilience, would the time have doubled. Once the plot of land was complete, he realized his greed. 1,000 square meters was too much, at least for him at the time. He simply couldn't handle that much land with his current strength, so he only selected a small portion with the best geology, about 1/10 of the reclaimed land. This might not seem like much for an adult, but for 6-year-old Zun Zun, it was just what he needed. Cultivating land doesn't mean planting immediately. Before planting, the surface needs to be cleared of debris, branches, rocks, and other unstable materials. This means leveling the ground to ensure crops grow properly. This makes future planting easier and increases the efficiency of the land. That's why he only kept 1/10 of the plot of land. Clearing the debris took him almost 10 days. Every day, Zun Zun arrived at the forbidden area early in the morning and worked until nightfall before returning home. The reason for their hard work was the approaching winter. The timing of sowing is crucial, as it affects the growth and harvest cycles of crops, in addition to being affected by weather, temperature, and other factors. If Zun Zun wanted to enjoy the crops from his fields the following year, he had to prepare the land before winter and sow the seeds in spring. Otherwise, he would miss the sowing time and the land would have been wasted for a year. In the evening, he returned home. Zun Zun, you've been leaving early and returning late lately. Are you hiding something from me? Sister Tao Lao asked at the dinner table. Her harsh words shocked him, leaving Zun Zun at a loss for how to respond. He pursed his lips, with an air of guilt. Tell me, Sister Tao Lao said in a serious tone, with a rare hint of anger. You go out clean every day, but at night you're dirty and covered in mud. Wait, were you bullied? No, I wasn't bullied. What happened? I went to the forbidden area. Zun Zun closed his eyes, preparing for the approaching storm. What? You went to the forbidden area? As expected, Sister Tao Lao was furious. How could you be so disobedient, Zun Zun? You really disappointed me. Didn't I tell you? The evil god is sealed there. It's a dangerous place. No way. But sister, I can't hold back. My adventurous spirit, my crimson devil spirit is awakening. It's telling me to throw myself into adventure, because that's the only place I belong. Please, Sister Tao Lao, prove me right, Zun Zun. Tao Lao covered her mouth, somewhat incredulous that her normally polite and sensible brother would contradict her like that. But then, she was visibly moved. As expected, Zun Zun carries the blood of the crimson devil running through his veins. I knew this day would come. It seems you have fully awakened. Well, since I can't stop you, I will do my best to help you. But you must promise me that you will always remember the pride of the Crimson Devil clan. Thank you, Sister Tao Lao. The siblings hugged each other effusively. The awkward comedy, so awkward it could have been used to create a 3-room apartment, was actually the everyday life of the Crimson Devils, brimming with Chuo, who constantly went berserk in seemingly inexplicable places. Zun Zun had grown accustomed to it, and even now he cooperated with Sister Tao Lao's antics. Thinking back, it was Sister Tao Lao who encouraged him to venture into the forbidden area, so how could she blame him for this? But of course, the so-called forbidden area was like a bathroom, accessible to anyone, regardless of their wishes. As for farming, Zun Zun kept it to himself, intending to do it discreetly and impress everyone. Of course, if Sister Tao Lao knew, she would definitely offer her help. Not only did Sister Tao Lao have daily chores to do, but she also had to maintain the village divination house. Plus, school was starting next spring, and Zun Zun didn't want to overburden her. Still, Sister Tao Lao told him, by the way, I'll make you some rice balls tomorrow. Really? Thank you, Sister Tao Lao. Rice balls for lunch, I get it. While working in the fields, Zun Zun would come back every day for lunch. Bringing his rice balls would save him a lot of time, as it would have been an excellent time saver. With his sister's help, Zun Zun sped up his work considerably, and he barely finished the land by late autumn. Then winter arrived, and Zun Zun ceased his activities. Soci also has a New Year's. After all, the stupid goddess Aqua has sent many modern time travelers here, and the festivities are pretty much the same as we remember. The only difference is that the Crimson Demons have a so-called birthday, celebrating their creation. That day was truly chaotic, and even now Zun Zun shudders at the memory of it. Meanwhile, his parents, who had disappeared for a year, returned along with the rest of the tribe, which had slowly crept back into Crimson Demon Village. Zun Zun, like the children left behind, eagerly awaited their return, not because he missed his family, but because he missed the generous red envelopes they gave him every year. Before, Zun Zun didn't need money. He would give his sister the New Year's money he received from his parents to help with household expenses and save for food the following year. But this year, he probably couldn't. He hadn't yet secured the seeds, tools, or fertilizer for next year's farming, and he needed the money. In the easternmost house of the Crimson Demon Village, Zun Zun said, I am Zun Zun, and I aspire to become the strongest Crimson Demon. Zun Zun, swallowing his embarrassment, struck a dozen JoJo poses with his best businesslike attitude. His strange, magical poses delighted his parents, who then showered him with money. He received more New Year's money than he had in the past 6 years combined. Every year, the Crimson Demons hold an end-of-year party. In addition to chatting, they also hold a Chuo competition, probably a translation error, to see who has the coolest moves and lines. Zun Zun had avoided attending out of embarrassment, but this year, for a chance to win the grand prize, 100,000 eris, he forced himself to attend and won. Sure enough, Chuo is popular among the Crimson Demons. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 You dare to kill and steal my corn? You seek death? Chapter 8 Dare to kill. Steal my corn, you're courting death. Bookshelf. Recommendation. Spring has arrived, and it's a new year. With no chance to say goodbye, his parents are once again swindling people, illuminating the world and guiding its future. Zun Zun has once again become a wave. But he isn't disappointed, because starting this year, he has big things to do. First, he needs to buy the right farming tools. Using a shovel to cultivate the field seems odd any way you look at it, at least a hoe will do. But forget about large tools like plows and rakes. He doesn't have an ox or a collie to pull the farming tools, and with his small frame, a hoe is the best he can do. Although the Red Demon tribe is in the countryside, the shops here are well equipped and most common items can be purchased, and farming tools are naturally not a problem. As for fertilizer, there's no rush. Over time, the soil has lost many nutrients, weakening the nodes, slowing crop growth, and reducing production. Therefore, when choosing fertilizers, one must carefully consider the type of crop to be planted. Using these fertilizers can preemptively replenish soil fertility. However, as it was his first time planting, the soil's nutrients had not yet been depleted. Once again, he was overwhelmed by the dilemma of which crops to plant. The fruits and vegetables in Suqing are truly strange, they are all alive. Think of watermelons planted in rivers, celery planted in fields, flying cabbages, and even dancing, fragrant melons. The planting system is a mess, goddess. These are all rare ingredients, delicious, and capable of earning experience points. Their value, both for consumption and sale, is also extremely high, making them perfect crops to grow. The only drawback is that Zun Zun cannot defeat them. Each rare ingredient is incredibly powerful, and even ordinary adventurers might not be able to defeat them, not even Zun Zun at this point. Planting rare ingredients and not being able to harvest them is a complete waste of time. But rice and other crops weren't a good option. The geology wasn't ideal for rice, and growing it was even more troublesome. The harvest wouldn't even cover their own needs, let alone the financial sustenance they were expected to provide for their families. So it seemed there was only one crop left, corn. Corn is drought-resistant and adaptable to all types of soil, producing a high yield that could meet daily needs. Best of all, it matures in just 100 to 120 days from planting. Is there any crop that matures sooner and grows faster? No. Corn is the perfect choice. Zun Zun then ran to a seed shop and bought some corn seeds. The advantage of buying from a seed shop is that you don't have to select high-quality seeds yourself, and they are already fully germinated, you just have to plant them. With a small hoe, he plowed the plot once more, digging a small hole every now and then and placing 2 corn seeds in each one. Then he covered the soil and watered the hole. He just had to wait for the seeds to sprout. Just as Zun Zun had imagined, the seeds he had planted sprouted from the ground within a week, sprouting small, tender shoots. Zun Zun was overflowing with joy every day. But immersed in his own world, Zun Zun completely forgot one thing: Sister Tao Lao's school enrollment had arrived. At 12 years old, she was about to enter first year. Zun Zun, what do you think? Does it look good? It looks good. Sister Tao Lao, dressed in the Crimson Demon Clan uniform, stood in front of him, asking for his opinion. Although the Crimson Demon Clan was a Chunibyo group, they had excellent taste. The pink skirt, held by a small leather belt, revealed a slender waist. The pink and red tie and the brown and black leather shoes radiated a youthful and beautiful air. The black cloak, held by the tie, evoked a magical and mysterious air. Hey, isn't this inspired by the magic school uniform in The Boy Who Lived? Wait, as far as Zun Zun knew, Lao Dang, the creator of the Crimson Demon Clan, was a modern man. Doesn't it mean? Hey, this is plagiarism. Don't you even have your own design philosophy? In fact, Zun Zun was still mulling over the heart-shaped succubus coat on his abdomen. Zun Zun, no. It's nothing, Sister Tao Lao. It looks great. It wasn't a compliment. Although Sister Tao Lao was relatively young, she already had pace that even Zun Zun envied. A short black cloak accentuated her stunning figure, paired with a soft pink knee-length skirt and black leather shoes. Her jet black hair fell over her shoulders in a natural, billowing curve. Her eyes were clear and bright red, her eyebrows were arched, and her long eyelashes trembled slightly. Her white, flawless skin had a faint blush, and her thin lips were as delicate as rose petals. The perfect combination of red, white, and black skin left even Zun Zun stunned. She was undoubtedly the Red Demon clan's foremost beauty. Really? How wonderful, Tao Lao hugged Zun Zun. Don't be envious, Zun Zun. One day you'll be as beautiful as me, no, even more beautiful. You're wrong, sister. Boys shouldn't be described as beautiful, they should be described as handsome. But I will strive to develop page so imposing that even Tao Liao-san will be embarrassed. Zun Zun pursed his lips and made a secret decision, but Tao Liao-san, I always feel like I'm missing something. What? Zun Zun pondered for a long time. Only when his eyes scanned Tao Liao-san's straight, white legs did he realize she was missing a crucial piece that would enhance her appeal. Black stockings. Tao Liao-san's legs were perfect, but black stockings would enhance them even more. Tao Liao gladly accepted the offer. Tao Liao-san was going to school, and that didn't make Zun Zun feel lonely or uncomfortable. On the contrary, it gave him greater freedom. He could spend the entire day in the fields without a worry, and every day was a rewarding experience. My only regret was not being able to show Sister Tao Lao the ripe cornfield before school started. Perhaps it was because of Old Man Deng, the creator of the Red Demon. According to Li himself, the Red Demon tribe's school year always begins in April. If it were Old Deng next door, classes would start in September. But it wouldn't be a problem to wait until Sister Tao Lao's summer vacation to prove it. As the days passed, the ears of corn grew taller, the beard slowly dried and fell off, and I believed they would soon be edible corn. The joy of this bountiful harvest was indescribable. The sun is shining, the flowers are smiling at me, the birds are singing good morning, good morning. Why are you carrying your little hoe? I'm going to the fields, I'm never late, I love to study and work, and when I grow up, I want to earn an income for my family. However, one day, when Zun Zun was about to reach his beloved cornfield, he discovered something so shocking that he dropped his hoe. He saw that the northeast corner of the cornfield was empty, even the corn stalks had been uprooted. Was it a monster? No, there are no beast tracks around here. And if it were a monster, the whole field would be destroyed, not just a corner. Who the hell is this? You dared to kill my horse. No, you dared to uproot my corn. You're courting death. Chapter 9 Megumin. As everyone knows, the most important thing to do when catching a thief is to avoid making a big fuss and scaring them off. No weapons, just catch them stealthily. Zun Zun didn't set any traps, because thieves are humans, not beasts. Humans are usually more intelligent and observant than beasts, so adding unnecessary traps would be counterproductive. He simply hid in the cornfield, waiting for his prey. And so, an hour passed, then 2, then 3. The sun gradually rose, and it was noon. Not only did Zun Zun fail to catch the thief, but the stifling heat of the cornfield was making him more and more irritated. He couldn't help muttering, thieves are good at shooting and moving. Maybe they won't come back? Then I'll be lost. But then he heard someone humming in the distance. My God, you're singing. Zun Zun was furious. Since he was hiding in the cornfield, the leafy cornfield hid his thin figure, but he couldn't see the thief either. He only vaguely made out a small silhouette between the gaps and the leaves. The man approached the cornfield, first looking around, as if searching for someone, before approaching the freshly plucked corn. Good, he knew how to locate the spot. But Zun Zun didn't just jump in. He was waiting for an opportunity, waiting for the moment when the thief, intent on plucking the corn, would reveal a flaw. This was it. I've got you. Zun Zun strode purposefully out of the cornfield and pounced on the thief, who was tearing up the stalks. The immense force of the impact knocked him to the ground, and then he straddled the thief, pinning him down with his hands and feet. How dare you steal my corn, you damn thief? No, no. Please don't eat me. I'm skinny, I don't have much meat left. Please let me go, the thief, after being knocked down, cried out for mercy. X2 The two exchanged bewildered glances. Then there was a brief silence. The thief was a girl, with the red eyes and black hair unique to the Crimson Demon clan. This was complete nonsense, only the Crimson Demon clan could appear in the forbidden area. The difference was that she was thinner and slightly shorter than Zun Zun. Her face was cute, but a little pale and wrinkled, and she seemed to be malnourished. Sorry, for some reason, Zun Zun felt a little guilty and slowly loosened his grip on her slender, delicate wrist. Damn guilt. She was clearly the victim. Are you hurt? No, thank you. The girl grabbed the hand Zun Zun offered her, forcefully pushed herself up from the ground, and patted her slightly soiled trousers. The two fell silent again. Then, he looked at Zun Zun, then at the cornfield, and said as if he had thought of something, "Is this cornfield yours?" "Yes, I planted it," Zun Zun snorted. The little girl blinked, lowered her head slightly, and said, "I'm sorry. I thought this cornfield had no owner." "Wait, no owner? Did you think the corn would just grow by itself, huh?" "Right." He turned to look at the cornfield behind him. "No," Zun Zun stomped his feet angrily, shouting, "What I mean is, did you think the corn would just grow by itself for no reason?" "I'm sorry. Oh, I'm really sorry for stealing the corn, but my family is very poor and probably can't compensate you. If possible, I'd like to compensate you with my labor." The little girl bowed deeply. "I'm surprised you're so straightforward in apologizing, but let's forget about compensation. Can you? It seems you can't compensate either." Just as he had approached her and was groping her, Zun Zun noticed her unexpectedly thin body. Coupled with her face, pale from malnutrition, and her patched and worn skirt and pants, it was obvious how hard her life had been. Besides, it was good of the girl to admit her mistake. If she went back to her parents crying and started saying things like, "Oh, she's still small, eat it," or "Don't bother with her," then his blood pressure would shoot up. "As long as you don't steal any more of my corn, I won't bother with you. Thank you, little sister." "Little sister, no? Is it better to call you sister?" The girl's innocent look broke Zun Zun's heart. It wasn't her fault she was pretty, and for an instant, he felt a mix of emotions. Or, "Sister, it's okay, I just got distracted." In the end, he decided to just be a sister for once. "Okay. Now that you know I planted this cornfield, remember not to steal it next time, or I'll be really angry. Understood? Go if you get it." "Yes." Despite saying that, the girl was still looking back. Her reticent expression in the cornfield was incredibly heartbreaking. Zun Zun quickly called out to her. Wait, you want to farm with me?" "Farm? Although farming is hard work, it allows me to feed myself, and the extra food can be sold to supplement the family income." "So you're not thinking about getting something for nothing, are you?" "No, I'm not. Rather, I've thought about making a living by farming, but I didn't even have money to buy seeds." The girl spoke calmly, heartbreaking tears streaming down her face. "How poor is your family?" Zun Zun was stunned. "Ahem. So, you want to farm with me? Although you won't earn much, at least you'll have enough to eat." "Yes. Please let me farm with you." "No, please let me farm with you." No need for honorifics. The girl's respectful tone made Zun Zun slightly uncomfortable. Of course, asking her to farm wasn't just out of kindness, but because they were mindful of the large tracts of land they had reclaimed and yet to use. Rather than letting the reclaimed land go to waste, it would be better to have someone else join her. This would not only make use of the land, but also produce more food, giving the girl a chance to eat her fill. It was a win-win situation. "By the way, why were you in the forbidden area? Your parents must have told you it's a dangerous place, huh?" "Is that right?" the girl asked, a little surprised. "Mom told me that places with signs like no entry, nothing here, or keep out are usually full of treasure, so I come here every day." "Is that right?" Zun Zun should have thought of this a long time ago. In fact, this was already the norm for the education of children in the Red Demon clan. All Red Demon parents wanted their children to play in the forbidden area, and Zun Zun understood this perfectly. "Then why did you steal corn?" "No, to be more precise, why did you steal green corn?" This was what truly irritated Zun Zun. He wasn't angry about the corn being stolen, nor about the peaches being picked right before the harvest. He was simply inconsolable because they were uprooting the corn before it was ripe. Mom said that when you find edible food that won't kill you, the first thing to consider is not whether it tastes good, but getting it without hesitation. A forced melon isn't sweet, but it quenches thirst. Zun Zun was speechless. There must be something wrong with your mother's education. I did the same. The corn is delicious, as are the ears, the leaves, and the stalks. I ate them all with gratitude. Hey, no way, corn is full of treasures. The kernel, the ears, the leaves, the stalks, everything is edible. But, although it is edible, as for the taste, it was the first time I saw someone eat all of their corn. You might become a great man in the future, the clan leader told me the same thing, that old den. Come to think of it, it seems I still don't know your name. My name is Zun Zun. And yours? My name is Megumin. Little Lolly said her name. Chapter 10. I picked up a little lolly. Wait, Megumin? You said your name is Megumin. What's wrong? Do you know me? Should I say yes or no? It was a really recognizable name. They had met in a previous life, and the way they met was slightly different. In this life, I heard about her at birth, but I'd never met her. Megumin was Piao Saburo's daughter. That made sense, since she was so thin and malnourished. What's wrong? What an ambiguous statement. Perhaps Zun Zun's tone of voice was a little strange, and Megumin thought he didn't want to join her in the field chores. She said quickly, "Don't look at me like that. I'm very strong and I can handle heavy work like digging. If you don't believe me, I'll teach you." Then she grabbed the corn stalks and pulled them up with all her might. Wait. I believe it. It's not enough. Idiot, let it go. Zun Zun lunged forward and grabbed Megumin's hands. He was, in fact, pulling up the crops to show his strength. His reasoning was rather strange. Do you believe me? Yes, really, no, you can't tell at first glance. I'm going to pull it up, stop it. If you pull any more, this corn plant will die. If it dies, it won't yield full corn, and we won't be able to feed ourselves. Not being able to feed ourselves was a delicate word. Megumin immediately stopped pulling and tucked the corn stalk back in, finally pushing it in a little harder, as if hesitating. Zun Zun's face twisted. Somehow, he felt he had made the wrong decision. In short, I'm going to teach you the important things to keep in mind when farming. First, crops are very delicate. A little carelessness can kill them, so you must be careful with them. Understood? Yes, I understand, Megumin replied simply. Her attitude was good, but her actions were truly frustrating. No, having a good attitude was already good enough. Bit by bit, they taught her about farming, gradually putting her to work, or at least turning her into a tool for following orders. Well, in that case, without further ado, let's recultivate the land adjacent to the cornfield today. The land Zun Zun had reclaimed last fall had been left semi-abandoned after a winter, a spring, and half a summer. To reuse it, they would have to repeat the previous steps. The good news was that since Zun Zun had already laid the foundation, turning the soil over again wouldn't be as difficult as the first time, which would definitely make their job much easier. Not even Megumin would have any trouble. It was just... Gurgle. Suddenly, a pitiful wail resounded from Megumin's flat belly. The girl covered her stomach, unperturbed, and said indifferently, "Hungry again? It's okay. I've experienced this feeling many times. From now on, I should be able to last about 7 hours, after which I'll fall into a semi-comatose state. No, considering I have to do some exercise later, I'll probably only last 3. No, I won't let you work on an empty stomach." So how did she come to those conclusions? Did she use herself as an experiment? No, given her poverty, she must have been forced to learn this. Zun Zun took out a rice ball his sister had made for lunch and handed it to Megumin. "Eat it, okay, of course. I told you I wouldn't let you go hungry, thank you." Megumin took the rice ball and, without reservation, tore it apart and chewed, devouring the large ball in a few bites. Then she picked up the next one and repeated the process, finishing 3 in the blink of an eye. The way she gobbled it down startled Zun Zun. How long had it been since this child had eaten? No. Did she bring back a pile of corn yesterday? When Zun Zun got curious and asked, he learned that Megumin hadn't eaten all the corn, but had saved some. He hadn't expected her to have such skill in storing. Zun Zun was both furious and amused. When only one rice ball remained, Megumin's hand, as she tried to pick it up, froze in midair, a little embarrassed to eat. "Eat it." With permission, Megumin took the rice ball and began to nibble at it. Zun Zun had a big appetite, so he asked his sister to make the rice ball bigger, enough for 2 adults. But in the end, the child ate it all by herself. As if a little embarrassed to eat it all, Megumin offered it to her when only half remained. "I don't need it," Zun Zun flatly refused, but Megumin ignored him and continued to place the rice ball near her mouth. Seeing the girl's stubborn expression, confused by her insistence, she devoured the remaining half in one gulp. Megumin's lips curled slightly. After a short rest, the midday sun gradually set and the temperature dropped. It was time to work. "Megumin, when I was little, I read a sentence in a book. When I was little." The girl looked at her sister, who was not much older than her, with a surprised expression. "Ahem, when I was younger." "Don't interrupt." Zun Zun coughed dryly and said, "When I was little, I read a phrase in a book titled 'Whoever doesn't work, doesn't eat.' It means that those who don't work have nothing to eat. So that we have enough food and no longer go hungry, let's work hard, So that we no longer go hungry, for a better tomorrow, for a better tomorrow. Whether it was Zun Zun's motto that worked, or the fact that they no longer had to go hungry, Megumin worked very hard and diligently. Zun Zun used the hoe to reclaim the semi-abandoned piece of land, while Megumin followed behind him to clean up the debris he had dug up. The two worked in perfect harmony, and in less than half a day, they had claimed the designated piece of land. The decision to add another person was undoubtedly the correct one. 1 + 1, 2. So they could probably claim another piece of land. Zun Zun was confident. But it probably wouldn't work today, because Megumin was panting and kneeling beside him, her ragged skirt and trousers stained with mud, and her pale face with an expression of exhaustion. He had forgotten. The child wasn't feeling well. Besides, Zun Zun had a trick, so Megumin could only keep up with great effort. He would have to keep an eye on her from now on. Well, that's all for today, Zun Zun said, full of energy, slinging his hoe over his shoulder. Don't forget to come back tomorrow. I'll make some delicious rice balls. Perhaps the rice balls had whetted the child's appetite, but Zun Zun had barely taken 2 steps when he heard her stomach growling behind him. It was that growling that suddenly reminded Zun Zun that Megumin didn't seem to have anything left to eat. Was she going to starve to death tonight? Wait, didn't that mean she wouldn't be able to eat the rice balls until tomorrow at noon and would have to do manual labor before then? He had completely forgotten that Shehu still had corn at home that he had stolen and saved. After a moment's thought, he asked, would you like to come to my house for dinner? Chapter 11. Today's dinner at Zun Zun's house. The evening sun was like warm silk spreading across the countryside, soft and inviting. As the sun gradually set, the glow on the horizon, like blood, illuminated a peaceful field. The distant horizon glowed a yellow-orange hue, a stark contrast to the green earth, a stunning sight. Scattered wisps of smoke rose from the village, juxtaposing beautifully with the clouds in the sky, creating a warm and tranquil atmosphere. La la la. La la la. I am a skilled farmer. I don't wait for dawn to plant, digging and planting at the same time. Today's weather is truly beautiful. I can plant 2 fields in half a day. La la la. La la la. I am a skilled farmer. I run through the fields in strong winds and heavy rain. If I don't walk properly, I slip and fall. My muddy body is a source of laughter. Only I know the pain of hunger and cold. La la la. La la la. I am a skilled farmer. Enduring hunger and cold, I run through the village. Without food, without sleep, who can I turn to for help in this miserable life? One day, the light will finally come. Zun Zun walked home with Megumin, singing a song he had just composed. Halfway there, a faint feeling that something was wrong struck him. Anyone who knew would find it unbelievable. One bringing someone home on their first meeting, the other leading them home on their first meeting. One dared to lead someone home, the other dared to follow someone. Luckily, Zun Zun wasn't some weird old man taking a little girl to see the goldfish, or there was no telling what Megumin had found next. No, she seemed shrewd, so she wouldn't be fooled, right? Zun Zun's home was a slightly larger farmhouse in the forest east of the village. Come in, thank you. Zun Zun led Megumin into the house. No one was there, her parents were out of town. Ever since Megumin had grown into such an adorable little girl, she came home a little later every day. Of course, Zun Zun had purposely kept her home late so she could spend more time with her friends. In the meantime, the responsibilities of cooking and housework fell to him. He held no hard feelings, because Talo always kept the house impeccably tidy every weekend. He just had to maintain it that way and do some light cleaning. He instructed Megumin to lie down on the living room sofa. As he walked into the kitchen, he said, by the way, can we have beef curry tonight? Curry. Beef? The little girl's eyes lit up red as she exclaimed excitedly, can I? Curry must be a very expensive spice, right? And isn't beef a legendary ingredient? Can I really enjoy it? Zun Zun frowned. While curry and meat were expensive, they weren't expensive enough for ordinary people, let alone a legend. How poor had she ever been before? Bitter tears welled up in her eyes. You can eat as much as you want tonight, really. The girl was filled with excitement for dinner. She remembered the first time Zun Zun had cooked dinner for Talo, who had worked hard all day, and Talo was more concerned with whether the food would be delicious. But Megumin seemed different. Her criteria for judging food wasn't whether it was cooked properly, but whether it was edible. But the thought of being able to devour even the inedible corn cobs and stalks immediately relieved her. But don't worry. Her cooking skills were top-notch. In his previous life, when his company had streamlined his business and forced him to live off his savings, his favorite thing to do was learn to cook from online chefs. He even learned how to make a master's barbecue sauce and made a tidy profit at the night market. Zun Zun also discovered that everything he learned stuck in his mind and didn't fade with time. That was probably the advantage of the trap. Beef curry takes a long time to make because it needs to be simmered, and the longer it simmers, the more fragrant it becomes. Soon, the rich aroma of the curry filled the room. Perfect, another 30 minutes would do, and by then, the trapped sister would be back. Zun Zun, after making the curry, had just turned around when a pair of bright crimson eyes met his gaze. Wow, he shuddered, his back drenched with sweat. Zun Zun was terrified of ghosts. But when he saw it was Megumin, looking at him from behind, he sighed in relief, his anger rising, and couldn't help but scold, "Megumin, why did you scare me, huh?" "Oh, sorry, the curry smelled so good that I couldn't help it." The little girl wiped the saliva from her mouth. The aroma was so strong, and Megumin was starving, which was why she acted like that. "You shouldn't be so excited," Zun Zun couldn't help but complain. The characteristic of crimson demons was that the more excited they were, the redder their eyes became, a sign of their concentration. "But no, the curry isn't ready yet, and we can't eat until Sister Tao Lao returns." This time, Zun Zun didn't relent. Instead, he pushed the little girl by the shoulders and led her to the living room to sit down. The fidgeting little girl looked toward the kitchen, drooling at the scent of the curry, as if it would allow her to savor its delicious flavor. Time passed like that. When the curry was ready, Sister Tao Lao returned home. "I'm back, welcome back, Sister Tao Lao." Zun Zun walked over and hugged her affectionately. The beautiful girl, dressed in the Crimson Demon Clan's exclusive school uniform, caught Megumin's eye. "Oh, we have visitors today." Sister Tao Lao was surprised to see Megumin sitting on the living room sofa. "Hello, I'm Megumin." The little girl stood up and bowed politely. Her seriousness quickly won Sister Tao Lao's heart. She quickly stepped forward, hugging the tiny Megumin and stroking her affectionately. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath." Sorry." Only when Megumin was breathing heavily and couldn't help but beg for mercy did Sister Trap release her. Megumin stared at her, seemingly captivated by her beauty. She couldn't help it. After all, Sister Trap was the most beautiful woman in reserve in the Crimson Demon Clan, incredibly popular with both men and women. Many girls dreamed of being as beautiful as Sister Trap when they grew up. It was time for dinner. "Wow, it's delicious," Sister Trap exclaimed dramatically after tasting the meat curry. Megumin buried her face in the bowl, gobbling up the food while muttering something, probably a compliment. "Huh? So exaggerated?" But after tasting it, he was a little stunned. It was delicious. Zun Zun stared in puzzlement at the ordinary meat curry in front of him. He hadn't added any drugs, and the ingredients were just ordinary curry and meat, prepared mediocrely. But it tasted truly delicious, much better than before. It was unknown why it had become so delicious. It couldn't be because his cooking was so good, right? Why wasn't it sparkling? "Another bowl, huh?" Looking at the bowl Megumin handed him, so clean it could reflect a person's image. Zun Zun was stunned for a moment before sighing helplessly. Yes, I'll be right there." In the end, the improvement in his cooking could only be attributed to cheating, otherwise, there was no point. But it didn't matter. To him, cooking was just an optional extra. He took Megumin's empty plate and headed into the kitchen. Chapter 12. And what is our relationship? Don't ask, keep eating. When Zun Zun returned to the table with a plate full of beef curry, he found Sister Tao Lao chatting with Megumin. "So he's Uncle Hyosaburo's son." Sister Tao Lao's expression was obvious. She must have known about Hyosaburo's family. No, it was more likely that Hyosaburo was incredibly famous. His glorious deeds had spread throughout the Crimson Demon Clan, making him a role model, but it was the other way around. Although the Crimson Demon village was rural, it wasn't actually poor. After all, every Crimson Demon was a great mage, more than capable of becoming a high-ranking adventurer. Furthermore, the Demon King's army, after their constant harassment, left many of their comrades behind as proof, which could be exchanged for money at the Adventurers Guild. Of course, the Crimson Demon Clan had other sources of income as well. There were blacksmiths who forged equipment, tailors who made clothes for students, adventurers, and nobles, shoe shops, pastry shops, and even a fortune-telling shop like Zun Zun's. Despite their youthful aura, The Crimson Demon clan's products were of high quality, earning them wide acclaim among adventurers and nobles. The Hyazaburo family makes a living by making magical artifacts. Their craftsmanship is truly exceptional, and their materials are top quality. However, the effects of their artifacts are so strange that, over time, no one buys them, and they have fallen into poverty. At a Crimson Demon gathering, the clan leader once mentioned this to him, but he responded with wry comments like, "How can an artifact maker talk about cooking? I don't waste my time, it's just that there are no people who understand." The other villagers of Crimson Demon Village, seeing her stubbornness, burst into laughter, and the gathering was filled with a joyful atmosphere. Megumin, having managed to survive despite her family background, is truly extraordinary. "Here, eat slowly, there's more, thank you." Zun Zun handed her the overflowing plate of curried meat. Megumin thanked her and gobbled it down again. Seeing the little girl like this, a surge of motherly love flooded her sister's heart. "By the way, Zun Zun, I forgot to ask you when I got back. What's your relationship, huh?" Zun Zun was stunned. Thinking about it, it seemed he hadn't mentioned it. What was their relationship? Zun Zun and Megumin, technically, were chief and servant. But now Zun Zun didn't want to reveal his farming background, and suddenly he didn't know how to explain it. "I know. We're friends, I'm so touched, Zun Zun. You've always been so lonely, never playing with other children. I thought you'd never make friends, but I didn't expect you to." Sister Trap looked incredibly pleased. No, it was a misunderstanding. Zun Zun wasn't resistant to making friends, it's just that there were so few Crimson Demons that it was impossible to meet someone his own age. Well, he admitted that it was an excuse. But asking someone with the soul of an adult to befriend a child was painful, and even more so a Crimson Demon child with a strong sense of Chuanibao. It was even more painful. "No, we're not friends." Zun Zun slammed the table and stood up. The sudden gesture seemed to startle them both, and Megumin stopped mid-sentence as she gorged herself on food. Sister Tao Lao said with some disappointment, "Did I misunderstand? So you two aren't friends?" "No, well, I mean, we're more than friends." "That's right. We're colleagues. We're closer, more intimate friends." In order not to upset Sister Tao Lao, Zun Zun grew more and more excited, raising his voice. "Really? Great." Sister Tao Lao clapped her hands happily. Then, "Megumin, stay here tonight. It's your first sleepover as friends, okay? Oh, and let's take a bath together tonight." Wait, Sister Tao Lao, "If Megumin doesn't go home, her parents will worry." "It's okay, my parents aren't home today. To be exact, they haven't been home in almost 3 months. Megumin spoke these heartbreaking words calmly. "Perfect," Sister Tao Lao said with a smile. "Megumin, stay here tonight. I'll run the bath now." "Wait. Sister Tao Lao, Sister Tao Lao, Sister Tao Lao." Every hospitable, ignored Zun Zun's words and quickly left the living room for the bathroom to prepare the bath. Zun Zun stood with his hands in his own, deep in agony. He knew this was how it would end. Megumin looked at him. "So, how are we now?" "Don't ask. Keep eating." The girl didn't dwell on it. She was more focused on the meat curry in her bowl and devoured it once more. After dinner, it was bath time. In the bathroom, Zun Zun soaked in the bathtub, a short distance from Sister Tao Lao and Megumin. The bathtub was narrow, barely enough for 2 people, but the 3 of them were crammed in, with a small space between Zun Zun and the other 2. It was like being squeezed onto a bus. It seemed to be packed like sardines in a can, but the passengers kept squeezing in. However, if an unexpected incident occurred, a fierce samurai duel would inexplicably open up a vast expanse of space. "Zun Zun, come a little closer." "No, I'll be fine here." Zun Zun knelt in the bathtub, his eyes closed, head erect, back straight, and hands on his knees. The bubbling steam rising from the bathtub gave him the air of an immortal about to ascend. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't interested in Sister Tao Lao or Megumin. He did this to avoid embarrassment. On the contrary, he was afraid that Megumin would take an interest in him. "We're all girls, why are you so shy?" Sister Tao Lao pulled Zun Zun towards her, holding the 2 gorgeous girls in her arms, one on each side. If it weren't for the dazzling expanse of his page, someone would surely shout, "Let me do it." Wait, there might be even more people shouting at him. Megumin was also stunned. She stared at the scene blankly and couldn't help but ask, "What exactly should I do to be like you, big sister?" This was the second time she asked the same question. Unfortunately, Big sister hadn't explained how to get broad chests last time, so this time she asked the same thing again, eager for a clear answer. Sister Tao Lao looked a little embarrassed. Well, just eat well and nutritious food. Without nutrition, how can you grow? Zun Zun said. That's right, eat well, Sister Tao Lao, enlightened, nodded quickly, secretly giving a thumbs up. The little girl nodded thoughtfully. Sister Tao Lao stretched and then stood up from the bathtub. Sorry, the teacher gave us some homework today. I'm a little tired, so I'll go out first. She strode out of the bathroom. Despite her words, Zun Zun sensed that Sister Tao Lao was afraid that Megumin would ask more questions she couldn't answer, so she ran away in fear. Zun Zun and Megumin were in the bathtub. One on the left, the other on the right. Their small bodies left a lot of space between them, making them seem distant. The water was unbearably hot, but Zun Zun couldn't leave first, so he forced himself to stay with Megumin. After a while, Megumin spoke. Well, it's so nice to have a sister. Why do you say that all of a sudden? Since my parents are often away from home, I always fantasize about having a sister to take care of me. But unfortunately, I'm an only child, and even if they have another child, I'll always be a sister. Then why do you say that? I mean, don't worry about it. Although I'd love to have a sister, I wouldn't steal anyone else's, so don't be grossed out. Huh? Zun Zun was stunned. Did Megumin think he was jealous and hated her? No way. He didn't hate Megumin. He just didn't want to reveal his childhood and be mistaken for a pervert who liked to dress up as a woman. Unexpectedly, his distance from the girl was misinterpreted. Recalling what he had done since returning from catching his sister, he couldn't help but slap his forehead. I hope you don't hate me. After all, Zun Zun made a delicious dinner. No, then I'll go first. Megumin got up from the bathtub and quickly left the bathroom without even wiping herself. I don't hate you. Zun Zun, lying in the bathtub, stared at the stripe code unique to the Crimson Demon clan engraved on Megumin's bottom. Chapter 13 Ming-style farming. That night, Megumin stayed at Zun Zun's house. The three of them shared a bed. Sister Tao Liao held the two girls in her arms, one on each side, with a happy smile on her face, but that was about it. Nothing much happened between them, not even a sleepover or a snack, probably because of the boys. The next day, after breakfast, Zun Zun packed her lunchbox for Sister Tao Liao and sent her off to school before leaving with Megumin. They headed for the forbidden area. Really, the scariest thing about farming, no, generally, the scariest thing about any job, is the intermittent complacency followed by a constant state of idleness. Luckily, Megumin wasn't a college student. She had a deeper obsession with having enough to eat. And considering her question to Sister Tao Liao last night, she probably wasn't slacking off, was she? In fact, her worries were completely unfounded. Megumin, not to mention relaxing, worked even harder than Zun Zun, sparing no effort. The idea of enjoying a full meal truly appealed to her. In the morning, the two worked together to cultivate the third plot. In the afternoon, they cleared the debris, dug holes, and planted the seeds. They sat at the rickety altar, enjoying lunch in the shade of the leftover corner. Here, some leftover curry from yesterday, thank you. Megumin took the lunchbox Zun Zun handed her and began to eat. The meal is delicious after work. And if that weren't enough, the curry is even more aromatic and delicious after the second cooking. Zun Zun seemed to understand their relationship. The afternoon sun shone warmly on the cornfield, and a gentle breeze blew, bringing a soft whisper to her ears. The cornfield was an emerald green sea, swaying like a romantic ocean in the breeze. Despite such a beautiful landscape, Zun Zun couldn't enjoy it at all and instead felt a little depressed. Other people's cultivation methods, although called farming, are actually based on growing slowly but surely, gradually increasing their power until they become towering trees capable of shaking the world. Zun Zun's cultivation methods, on the other hand, do focus on farming. The difference isn't vast, but very distinct. Zun Zun, aren't you going to eat? Megumin stared at the lunchbox in Zun Zun's hands, her ruby-colored eyes revealed clear desire. Here you go, Zun Zun chuckled. A greedy kitten? If this keeps up, won't I raise this little girl to be a gourmet, soon? He devoured Zun Zun's lunchbox as well. Patting his slightly swollen belly, he said with satisfaction, Zun Zun's cooking is truly delicious, all thanks to the expensive spices and the legendary meat, Zun Zun said indifferently. No, it's Zun Zun's cooking that's delicious. I've never tried meat or curry, but the truth is, whatever the ingredients are, They don't taste that good on their own. It's the cook who makes them delicious. That's what my mother told me one day when she brought over some truly unpleasant herbs. Why eat herbs? Zun Zun wanted to complain about a recipe. Not even Crimson Demons, with their extreme chunyabao, bothered eating herbs because it wouldn't make them look good. But for Megumin, who was struggling to survive, it was a different story. Speaking of which, what are we going to plant on this newly reclaimed land? Megumin asked curiously. She didn't know much about farming, but it was July, long past the planting season, and there didn't seem to be any suitable crops to be grown. Plant potatoes? Potatoes? Now, the girl looked up at the sun. Not now, Zun Zun said with a gesture of labor. After preparing the land, fertilizer needs to be applied, and the soil needs time to absorb it. Besides, with the corn harvest right around the corner, where will the labor be to plant new crops? Don't you think the corn will fall off the stalks as it ripens? No, wait. It seems possible. Considering rare ingredients like cabbage that flies through the air and fragrant melons that vibrate like vibrators, the idea of corn falling over on its own doesn't seem like a big deal. But this time, Zun Zun can guarantee that he's just planting ordinary corn. And planting potatoes wasn't a casual idea. First, potatoes are sown in September and harvested in late November, making them the perfect winter staple. Plus, they're high-yielding, easy to store, and long-lasting, making them a perfect winter staple. It wasn't because he was worried that Megumin would starve to death. Not at all. After preparing the fields again that afternoon, Zun Zun took Megumin home. The next few days flew by. 2.5 months passed in the blink of an eye. Normally, the corn harvest would be in late September or early October. Whether it was the fertile soil and favorable weather, or perhaps the unconventional nature of the farming system in Suqing, the corn harvest had arrived. Looking out at the hundreds of square meters of golden cornfield, Zun Zun felt a surge of pride. He understood the joy of a bountiful harvest. Megumin felt the same. But Zun Zun was in no rush to harvest. On the contrary, he sensed challenges ahead. That's how farming is. Planted crops simply need to grow, absorb nutrients, and mature, but the harvesters have a lot to consider. There's no telling how long this cornfield will take, but luckily, Megumin is here to speed things up considerably. But before that, Zun Zun? Where are you taking me? And when can I take off my blindfold? We're almost there. Just a little further ahead, when the corn ripened, Zun Zun led Sister Tal out to the forbidden area, even blindfolding her to surprise her. Zun Zun and Megumin took her hand, respectively, giving Sister Lao a sense of relief. Well, let's stop here. Sister Lao, please open your eyes slowly. They slowly removed the blindfold, allowing Sister Lao to get used to the light again. Then, a vast golden field of ripe corn came into view. What is this? I planted it. Zun Zun, hands on his hips, proudly showed his work to Sister Lao. At that moment, he looked like a child waiting for praise from his family. Amazing, Sister Lao exclaimed, covering her mouth. Remember, Zun Zun was only 7 years old, and he had managed to plant such a large cornfield all by himself. Even with Megumin's help, it was still impressive. Many Crimson Demon children her age were still playing naked and innocently with other children. What's wrong, Sister Lao? Seeing her thoughtful expression, Zun Zun thought something was wrong. Then, Sister Tao Lao suddenly asked, Zun Zun, are you planning to become the #1 farmer of the Red Demon clan in the future? Huh? No, I don't have such plans, so you farm. Ah, I understand. What do you understand? You farm in secret and choose a forbidden area that no one else knows about. It must be to conquer the world, Zun Zun discovered. His sister has a bad habit of imagining things. And the little lolly over there. Don't get so excited when you hear about conquering the world. I have no idea. I just want to fill my stomach and get stronger. But under Sister Talao's expectant gaze, Zun Zun's little face gradually transformed into a mask of pain. Finally, he covered his face and said in a muffled voice, yes, it's to conquer the world. Chapter 14. How cute. After the show, it was time for the harvest. As Zun Zun had said before, farming works like this. The planted crops simply need to grow, absorb nutrients from the soil, and reach maturity. But the harvesters have much more to consider. The harvest was too much for 2 young children. But unexpectedly, Sister Talao arrived to help. Not only that, but she brought her friends along to help with the harvest. I am Hilulu, a grand mage, on the verge of mastering advanced magic, and the daughter of the Crimson Demon clan's foremost blacksmith. I am Hulala, a grand mage, on the verge of mastering advanced magic, and the daughter of the Crimson Demon clan's foremost cafe owner. I am Hong Long Long, a grand mage, on the verge of mastering advanced magic, and the daughter of the Crimson Demon clan's foremost innkeeper. Zun Zun couldn't help but grimace as he looked at the three Crimson Demon girls before him, striking strange poses reminiscent of the Jinyu Force entrance, dressed in the same uniforms as Sister Tao Lao. What was this? The wind, rain, and thunder trio? At the same time, he was sincerely grateful that they had gone to such lengths to avoid such a strange name at birth, although Zun Zun wasn't so nice after all. Incidentally, Sister Tao Lao was the daughter of the Red Demon clan's top diviner. Sister Tao Lao, who are these three sisters? They're the ones I asked for help. I'm very worried. After all, Zun Zun, you've been cultivating all day long, not playing like a child. Help, help. But Sister Tao Lao, didn't you say you had to cultivate in secret to avoid attracting attention? That? Sorry, I forgot. Sister Tao Lao awkwardly scratched her cheek. Zun Zun then realized that his sister seemed a little naive. Don't say that, said the Crimson Demon girl with low pigtails named Hululu. She really likes you, and begged us for a long time before we reluctantly agreed. That's right, you should be more considerate of your sister. It's wonderful. What's wrong? This feels. The short-haired goddess named Hualala grabbed Zun Zun's cheek, apparently finding it very pleasant. She exclaimed in surprise and played with it even more vigorously. Zun Zun couldn't resist at all, and could only murmur to beg his sister for mercy. Okay, Hualala, let go of her. Hong Long rescued Zun Zun from the evil hands. Her black hair was tied up with a red ribbon, and her eyes, like her sister's, gave him a sense of gentleness. Zun Zun couldn't help but feel attracted to her. But the good feeling quickly vanished. Teolo told me you want to conquer the world. How adorable, eh? That gentle, yet slightly disdainful smile reminded Zun Zun of some young lady who enjoys ideas about love. What an intriguing person. Zun Zun's inner alarm bells went off. But even more so, he felt embarrassed. It was as if his mother had taken a treasured little book from under the bed and, instead of wiping it clean or burning it, had displayed it in front of her friends, neighbors, and relatives, enjoying it immensely. How outrageous, Teolo. That's right, my Zun Zun has such a lofty goal, and he's going all out. Isn't that impressive? Teolo's sister suddenly smiled proudly. Zun Zun was taken aback by her genuine expression, but he suddenly understood what was going on. It all came down to a different way of thinking. Unlike ordinary people, the Crimson Demons, who enjoy Chunibaku, did not take Zun Zun's desire to conquer the world as a joke. On the contrary, they found it quite impressive. In that case, I am Zun Zun, and I will one day be the strongest of the Crimson Demons. I am cultivating the land to build my world conquest. Senior sisters, if you come help me, I could crown you as my 4 heavenly kings after I conquer the world. Zun Zun introduced himself with a peculiar gestures befitting the Crimson Demons. Wow, how cute. Hualala hugged him tightly and doted on him. Hululu exclaimed, what a noble goal, that is the true Crimson Demon clan. Hong Long Long nodded in satisfaction and said, at first I thought it was just a casual remark, but it seems not. Well, since you have such a noble goal, I'll lend a hand. What? So she wasn't plotting, but was just trying to get her to cooperate with her Chunibaku. The misunderstanding was resolved. Zun Zun, understanding, breathed a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Megumin was completely ignored, but she wasn't angry or disappointed. Instead, she stared intently at the ample chests of the older sisters. Including Sister Teoleo, these 4 people possess considerable weight, perfectly illustrating the saying God breeds, they gather. Seeing the girl so fixated on the ample chests, Zun Zun expected her to ask again, like before, but instead, she simply clenched her fists and nodded, as if she were determined. With the help of Sister Teoliao and the Fangaiulai trio, the corn harvest was completed in a single day. After all, it was only 100 square meters. As the sun set, the Fangaiulai trio, having finished their day's work, stretched. Well, that's all for today. Let's go home. Wait, you're really anxious. Sister Teoliao stopped them, saying, thank you for your hard work today. Come over to my house for dinner. I'll tell you a secret, Zun Zun is a fantastic cook. Now that you mention it, I have to try it. Hong Long Long looked at Zun Zun with interest. Sister Teoleo, your brother is in the spotlight. Zun Zun didn't hesitate to accept Sister Taoliao's invitation. After all, he had helped with the harvest, so a dinner party was ideal, right? At home, Zun Zun prepared a sumptuous dinner using freshly harvested corn. His incredibly delicious cooking immediately captivated the three older sisters. "How delicious!" Hualala exclaimed, calling out, "Zun Zun, why don't you come over to my house and be my chef? With your skills, you're sure to be a hit. I mean, isn't your house a cafe? It could definitely be a restaurant. It wouldn't be that difficult. Taolao, let Zun Zun help you. Oh, and let him become my son. No, Zun Zun is an important member of my family. No one can take him away from me." Sister Taolao hugged Zun Zun tightly. "Well done, Sister Taolao." She noticed that the scheming older sister, Honglonglong, lost the luster in her eyes upon seeing Taoliao's intense reaction, and had presumably given up on that unrealistic idea as well. After dinner, Taolao sent the Fangaiula trio off, along with some freshly picked corn, as a token of their help with the harvest. The three of them left happily with the corn. Zun Zun looked at their backs and said to Taolao, "You two are such good friends, really? Does Zunin think so too?" "I'm so happy," Taolao smiled. Zun Zun pursed his lips. Taolao said he was worried about his lack of friends, and Zun Zun was equally worried about his, as he had spent a lot of time taking care of him. Which was why Zun Zun acted the way he did. Sister Taolao, yes, thank you, yes, the siblings smiled at each other. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 The House is No Good. The cornfield produced an extraordinary harvest, almost 500 kilograms per 100 square meters. Wow, what a harvest! Based on her 20 years of farming experience, in China, the yield is around 6 tons per hectare. In the small island nation of Libyan, with its arid soil, the yield is a little more than half that. Only in the incredibly fertile United States can one achieve 11 tons per hectare, a stark contrast. To put that into context, in Suqing, the yield is 25 tons per hectare. My goodness, what a harvest! Is the farming system really pest-free? It's a world apart. And with all that food harvested, Megumin received a whopping 50 kilograms. Wow, what a harvest! Remember, from clearing the land to cleaning it, planting it, and maintaining it, Zun Zun did it all by himself, and Megumin only came to help 2.5 months before the harvest. A tenth is already quite a lot. The girl, on the other hand, was delighted, even a little nervous about receiving all the food. "Is this all I need?" she asked. "If you think it's too much, you can send it back." "No. This is the fruit of my labor," asked Megumin, throwing herself at the large sack of corn. The girl's obsession with food was unusually strong. When Zun Zun said they were going to burn the harvested corn stalks, she had actually hoped to take them home as food. If it weren't for Sister Taolao's strenuous objection, who said eating them would hinder the growth of her magnificent pectoral muscles, she probably wouldn't have given up. Still, seeing the corn stalks lying in the field, a look of obvious regret crossed her face. That night, the girl struggled to drag the 50-kilo sack of corn back home. Zun Zun and Sister Taolao offered to help her, but she excitedly said she could do it alone and stumbled. 50 kilos was still too much for a girl of only 6 years old. "Is it really that heavy?" Zun Zun picked up one of the sacks of corn that had been left at the door. It wasn't as heavy as she'd imagined. Recalling when I used to farm and plant alone, and how I also did most of the work during the harvest, a strength unlike that of my peers. I realized I was no longer just any little girl. "Quick, put it down, Zun Zun." Seeing a little girl throw a sack of corn, a weight that even an adult would struggle to lift, like it was a toy, Sister Taolao covered her face and exclaimed in surprise. Unexpectedly, she saw the famous painting the scream on her face. Megumin now had food, so she would no longer be hungry. Just as Zun Zun was thinking this, the next day, I said, "Why are you still here? Didn't I give you much food?" Sister Taolao said you could have breakfast here, so I came. It was just a polite remark. Zun Zun felt a little amused and confused as he watched the little girl, so serene and comfortable at the table. He didn't really consider him a stranger. In retrospect, it seemed like Megumin had lived here every day since he brought her home. Working in the fields with him during the day and sleeping with them at night, They were like Zun Zun's children. They even felt like three sisters when they were together. What three sisters? He was a boy. Well, you're glad Megumin's here, aren't you best friends? Sister Tao Lao came out of the kitchen with breakfast. Lately, the family has been short on ingredients, mostly corn, and Sister Tao Lao has a few recipes she wants to experiment with. She also asked Zun Zun to teach her how to make delicious meals. Zun Zun tried, but with little success. After all, even he didn't know how his own cooking turned out so well. Looking at the little girl, who was eating without reservation and devouring it with relish, Zun Zun shook his head. It didn't matter. It wasn't a big deal. It was just another meal. Honestly, Zun Zun was happy to have Megumin around, especially because it made Sister Tao Lao happy. Suddenly, a question occurred to him. By the way, your corn is at home. Have you taken proper measures to store it? Storage measures, you know, it's only the end of August, and it's still so hot out. Many foods rot and spoil within a few days if they're not stored properly, and then become inedible. If it were winter, there would be no need to worry. Just bury it in the ground and cover it with snow, and it will keep all winter. But it's still summer, and no matter what kind of food is left out, it will quickly ferment and rot. It's the law of nature. How could this happen? The girl panicked. She had worked hard for 2.5 months to finally get some food, and it was rotting before she could eat it. Who could bear it? What do I do? What do I do? Don't worry. I'd already guessed. There's still a while to plant the potatoes in September, so take the necessary precautions for storage before then. That was what her sister, Trapped, reminded her yesterday. At first, Zun Zun hadn't considered any of this. After all, in his previous life and the one before that, he had only been in charge of farming and harvesting, leaving storage and other chores to his grandparents and servants. In this life, with his sister by his side, he didn't have to worry about these things, and he wouldn't be responsible for the consequences. But without Megumin's parents and no family to take care of, there was nothing he could do. Zun Zun had a simple and ruthless solution. The most time and labor-saving rural method was to build a large ice box. The only problem was that it was expensive and laborious, as ice wasn't easy to come by in the countryside. But don't forget, this was the Crimson Demon clan. Every Crimson Demon was a great mage. Would making ice be a piece of cake? Upon reaching the remote hills of Crimson Demon Village, a solitary house stood tall. No, it was so dilapidated it couldn't even be called a house. It looked more like a few wooden planks nailed to the ground, barely enough to ward off the elements. Megumin pointed at the house and said, "That's my house." Oh, that's strange. Every time someone comes to my house, they point at it and say, "Megumin, is this your stable?" Or "Megumin, your storehouse is a bit old and needs renovating." But when I tell them this is my house, they get weird. Yet, it's almost the same face you have now, so you want me to tell you that too? No, even though it's true, it is my house after all. I still get angry when others say that. You are very clumsy. Zun Zun looked at the little lolly. Suddenly, the corners of his lips lifted, and he said viciously, "But I still want to tell you that the house is not right." The little lolly pouted, but she didn't seem angry. After all, Zun Zun was speaking the truth. Don't waste time, get to work, okay? The so-called wine cellar isn't that sophisticated, or it doesn't need to be. A good ice cellar should prevent the ice from melting for long periods of time, keeping the temperature low and keeping the food refrigerated. However, in the Crimson Demon clan, where mages are as numerous as dogs and great mages are everywhere, ice is the least valuable. So Zun Zun dug a space 2 meters deep and 5 meters wide behind Megumin's house, which was so dilapidated it was indistinguishable from a stable. He then found a trustworthy adult from the Crimson Demon clan and asked him to use freezing magic to make ice. In this way, a simple ice cellar was ready. Chapter 16 Papa expressed sex future. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, September arrived. On that crisp autumn day, Zun Zun began the next round of planting. Megumin was also very serious about ensuring a full winter. She said that finding food was difficult every winter. From the weeds to the mushrooms by the roadside, everything disappeared. Sometimes, with luck, she could catch a rabbit in the western forest, but that came with the risk of being attacked by stronger beasts. Other times, with bad luck, she had to eat snow to fill her stomach. In short, every winter was hard on her. So, in order not to starve to death this winter, work hard on the farm, little Lolita. I'll do my best. And please don't call me little Lolita, it's fine. Little Lolita, no problem, little Lolita. Being called little Lolita repeatedly, Megumin showed clear displeasure. She lowered her head and looked at her chest, as flat as the earth, a little confused. He ate well every day, so why didn't he seem to change? Perhaps I haven't reached puberty yet, his sister, trapped, replied. She didn't know the reason. After all, she had already experienced slight fluctuations at the age of 6, unlike Megumin, whose chest was like a rock, impossible to break no matter how hard she tried. But the little girl surreptitiously glanced at Zun Zun's equally flat chest, and a reassuring smile suddenly spread across her face. What do you mean by that? Zun Zun looked a little annoyed. He hadn't slacked off during his time as a farmer, he often took time out to exercise in the forest. But he only gained strength, not muscle, and you never knew when he would achieve that enviable physique. Looking at the prepared soil, Megumin asked with some concern, is it difficult to plant potatoes? Not really. It's quite simple, Zun Zun shook his head. Since the two of them had prepared the ground 2 weeks ago, all that remained was to plant the potato seeds and water them. Zun Zun took out the sprouted potatoes and, together with Megumin, dug a hole and buried them. Listen carefully, bury the potatoes about 2 centimeters deep. If you bury them too deep, they won't grow as big as your breasts. If you say that again, I'll plant you too. The girl's eyes reddened with excitement, and she looked like a crazed kitten. Zun Zun sensed that she was serious. If she continued joking, she might be planted one day. Okay, I was wrong, she apologized under pressure. Meanwhile, to change the subject, Zun Zun said, by the way, Megumin, have you heard the fable about the devil and the farmer? No, what's that? Megumin asked irritably. As expected, children being children, they are inevitably drawn to fairy tales and interesting fables. He cleared his throat and began to tell a story. Unfortunately, his childlike voice failed to create that special atmosphere, but Megumin valued the story more than the voice. A long time ago, there was a farmer who was very good at farming. His crops were very good. One day, the greedy devil found him and said, this year, the crops you grow above ground will be mine, and the crops that grow underground will be yours. In 2 years, I will give you a treasure. The farmer thought more about it and happily agreed. The devil was also pleased to see the farmer agree, thinking that he had finally gotten something for nothing. When it came time to sow seeds that first year, the farmer sowed potato seeds in his field. The farmer thought, potatoes grow underground, so they're all mine, so he worked happily and planted his crops diligently, without worrying about the devil. Suddenly, harvest time arrived. The farmer brought home baskets of potatoes from his field. The devil thought, the farmer harvested so many, I must have more than him. Now I'm going to make a fortune. When the devil arrived at the field, he was astonished. There was nothing there but withered potato leaves. He had nothing. The devil thought he had made a mistake. He shouldn't have taken what was above the ground. He should have taken what was underground. The devil, angry, found the farmer and said, I won't fall into your trap. Next year, the potatoes above the ground will be yours, and I want what's underground. The farmer smiled happily and said, okay. Next year, all the potatoes above the ground will be yours. I want what's above the ground. The following year, at planting time, the farmer planted corn in his field. He thought, the roots of corn are no good, so I'll give them all to you, I just need the corn. The cunning farmer smiled at the thought. Autumn came, and the farmer harvested all his corn, bringing basket after basket home. The devil was delighted to see him, thinking, if there's so much harvest above ground, there must be even more harvest underground, so he happily went to the field, alone to harvest corn roots. He was furious at having been tricked again, but the devil had no choice but to keep his promise. The farmer found countless treasures, not only the harvest from the fields, but also a large amount of gold and silver jewelry. From then on, the farmer lived a happy life. Congratulations. After Zun Zun finished telling the fable, he looked at Megumin, who seemed to have understood something. It seemed that the girl had learned a lot from the fable, such as the importance of foresight, not being greedy for the visible, and not expecting something for nothing. Unexpectedly, what a silly demon, Megumin said as she planted potatoes. Since the farmer tricked him, why not kill him? That way he wouldn't have to give her the treasure and he could still keep her crops. Right, wait, didn't you just listen carefully? The demon and the farmer made a pact, so what? The pact between the demon and the farmer is only for 2 years, right? Once the pact is over, The demon can do whatever he wants, right? This little girl, what a radical idea. Besides, how can a demon be trustworthy? No, no, no. Whether it's in fairy tales or real life, demons are very trustworthy. And they wouldn't casually harm anyone. Some even work hard in other people's shops to earn money and have their own dungeons, Zun Zun said indifferently, thoughtfully. This only made the little girl suspicious, and she asked, "Why do you say that? It's as if you've seen it with your own eyes, huh?" This is, Zun Zun was a little anxious. He couldn't say that he knew this in his previous life, that's why he was so certain, right? In a moment of despair, Zun Zun had an idea and said, "Look, my family is fortune tellers. I actually have some skills, so I might know something about this kind of thing." Ah, Megumin suddenly understood. She knew that Zun Zun's family specialized in fortune telling, and that Sister Tao Lao would inherit the family fortune telling shop after she graduated. Suddenly, the girl understood something. "Zun Zun, can your fortune teller tell me if I'll have magnificent page like Sister Tao Lao and the others, huh?" Zun Zun was slightly startled, looking at his smooth and hard body with a strange expression. With pity and compassion, he said, "Okay. Even without that, Megumin, you'll have a good life. Wait a minute. I'm asking if I can have magnificent page. What does that have to do with a good life? Explain to me clearly what not having that means." Hey, before the girl could lose her temper, Zun Zun quickly planted the potato seeds and ran off. Because this kind of thing, this kind of despair, he didn't dare say it. Chapter 17, Great Debt, Great Kneeling, Piao Samling. Planting potatoes proved more difficult than expected, simply because the soil of the Crimson Demon tribe was very fertile. As everyone knows, if the soil is too fertile, the leaves and flowers absorb a large amount of nutrients, causing the potatoes, rhizomes, to grow to the size of small beans. Even at this size, they were still much larger than Megumin's pectoral muscles, but Zun Zun wasn't satisfied. So, every 2 or 3 days, they would prune excess branches and leaves, apply fertilizer, and water the fields. During this time, Sister Tao Lao and the Fengayu Lei trio offered to help, but Zun Zun politely declined. After all, he couldn't allow his sister to waste her youth working in the fields. After 2.5 months of constant work, getting up early and returning late every day, the potatoes were harvested. Despite Zun Zun's repeated refusal to let Sister Tao Lao help, they still came on the day of the harvest. Wow! So many! So big! So dense! Hululu exclaimed in amazement as she watched the potato rhizomes being pulled up. Zun Zun, you really know how to grow potatoes. You're the potato master of the Crimson Demon tribe? I think so too, Hulala and Hong Long Long nodded. Of course, Zun Zun accepted the trio's praise without hesitation. After all, each rhizome produced 7 or 8 potatoes, about the size of a girl's fist. Even the veteran farmers of the Crimson Demon tribe couldn't compare with their harvests. Besides, the land in Suqing was already fertile, so this harvest was a whopping 500 kilograms. Now we won't go hungry this winter. The girl's face was stained with black mud, but she couldn't hide a smile of relief. It was unknown how hard she had worked in previous winters. The 6 of them quickly harvested the potatoes and stored them in the cellar as usual. After enjoying Zun Zun's delicious meal that evening, they each left with a small bag of potatoes, satisfied. Megumin had contributed a lot this time, so Zun Zun generously gave her 30% of the harvest. About 150 kilograms of potatoes, even eaten daily, would be enough for more than 3 months. This time, Megumin didn't refuse Zun Zun's help, and she and Sister Tao Liao helped deliver the potatoes to her house. Seeing Megumin's house, Sister Tao Liao instinctively exclaimed, "Megumin, is that your storage?" This time, the girl felt deeply hurt. Then winter came, and Zun Zun, like every year, stopped farming and stayed at home, lazing around like the farmers of her previous life. Looking back on the past year, Zun Zun had worked tirelessly. After a year of farming, shouldn't she be able to enjoy herself? Past winters had been boring. Zun Zun could do nothing but exercise at home. Wake up, eat, exercise, sleep, wake up again, eat again, exercise again, sleep again, a monotonous repetition. But this year was different. Megumin appeared at Zun Zun's table every day at mealtime, blending in seamlessly. "Is this your house or mine?" Sister Tao Lao welcomed Megumin warmly. She knew she was having a hard time and also hoped Zun Zun would get closer to Megumin and they would become closer friends. Friends? Zun Zun looked at Megumin strangely. His relationship with the girl was more like that of a teacher with Run 2. Honestly, he couldn't wait to hear the girl call him master, and it wasn't just Megumin. Since Sister Taolao was away at school, her friends, the Fangayulai trio, often came over to play with him. They said they played together, but in reality, they played with him. Zun Zun couldn't escape their clutches, constantly squeezed and squashed. Sometimes, they even went so far as to treat him like a dress-up doll, making him wear all sorts of risque princess dresses, Lolita dresses, and other extremely embarrassing outfits. He felt humiliated, but the little girl felt incredibly envious, for she had no new clothes to wear. Megumin's childhood clothes were all hand-me-downs from her mother, making them look old-fashioned and worn. Her sister had offered her new and hand-me-down clothes, hoping she wouldn't look down on them, but the little girl rightly refused, even saying, "Mom forbids me from accepting things from others because that would make me feel indebted to them." At that time, Zun Zun had asked her, "You come here to eat every day, aren't you also accepting a favor from others? Clothes are something you see, but once you eat, there is no evidence." "That's what Mom taught me." The little girl's response was surprising. "There's definitely something wrong with your mother's upbringing. The Crimson Demons are only high school students, but Megumin's mother's upbringing, especially regarding food, is absolutely unique and astonishing. I really want to meet her one day." And that opportunity came soon. It was late November, one day while Zun Zun was training at home, and Megumin came over for dinner as usual. After dinner, she suddenly said, "Zun Zun, my parents are back and want to meet you." "Meet the parents?" "I'm not ready." But he soon realized that he had overreacted. He and the girl didn't have any inexplicable special relationship, rather, he was Megumin's benefactor. Even so, upon arriving at Megumin's stable-like house, Zun Zun subconsciously felt a surge of fear. Megumin's living room. Zun Zun was now formally seated in the quaint living room. He knelt on a tattered, unpadded futon, legs together, back straight, and hands resting on his knees. Obedience JPG. Although Zun Zun knew the location of Megumin's house, he had never been there. Upon entering, he found it as shabby as he had imagined. At the front of the living room stood a middle-aged man and woman. The woman was beautiful, with her long, flowing black hair cascading down her back. Her round, narrow eyes and face looked at him with such gentleness that it could be described as, "Madam, I see you still have your charm." But what concerns Zun Zun most was the cold, middle-aged man sitting to his left. His physique was somewhat robust, but not excessively so. His chest was overflowing with muscles, a muscular figure that made him envious. With his arms crossed, he exuded a heavy aura. His face, marked by sharp lines and austere, seemed to evoke invincibility. I felt like shouting the world, as Zun Zun and then launching into a series of waves at him. The man's pants, patched and riddled with holes, looked a little worn. It was Megumin's parents, Hyosaburo and Weiwei. "My daughter has already told me the details." Hyosaburo's voice lowered, with a hint of intimidation. "Huh? Was it because of farming? Was he dissatisfied with the unfair harvest? Was he planning to beat me up? Come to think of it, he had gone too far. Megumin, rising from dawn to dusk, worked the fields with him every day, watering, fertilizing, weeding, and even helping with the harvest. He did it all, but only received 30%. He was even more arrogant than Wang Xiling. Would he be hung from a lamppost and scolded by a furious Hyosaburo in a fit of rage? No wonder Zun Zun was scared. Hyosaburo was too bold. His face, like Jotaro's, denoted invincibility, and he seemed ready to scold him at the slightest disagreement. However, what he never expected was, "Thank you very much." Hyosaburo knelt on the spot. The word kneeled was a bit inappropriate, but he sat down and lay down in front of Zun Zun, as if he were Dajiza. Zun Zun was a little stunned. Huh? Well, my daughter told me that thanks to you, you let her come to our house for dinner every day and stay. Also, you gave her a lot of food after the harvest. Thank you very much." Hyosaburo's words were full of gratitude. At this time, Weiwei also said, "Yes. When we got home, we were surprised to see a wine cellar outside and so much food. After learning from Megumin that it was you, Zun Zun, who did it, we are very grateful to you." Yes. You just want to thank me. So many people want to kneel, but they don't even have the chance. When Zun Zun knew that Hyosaburo and Weiwei's true intention was to express their gratitude, his hunched little body gradually straightened up. P.S. The contract was signed normally, so please don't pity the author, please shower him with recommendation votes. Chapter 18 Intentional or Accidental. Zun Zun gradually straightened up amid the compliments. Hyosaburo called out, "Mom, hurry up and make some tea." "The best? Oh, look at me, I haven't thought about this in so long. But we only have the cheapest tea at home. Is that okay with you?" Wei went to make the tea with a smile. Hyosaburo was also smiling, a completely out-of-place expression on his face, which made Zun Zun feel overwhelmed. Besides, he had just kowtowed to the boy, which made his admiration for Jotaro crumble. He couldn't help but say, "I still like your rebellious appearance, Uncle Hyosaburo. Please pull yourself together." "Uh-oh, cough, cough." Hyosaburo coughed pretentiously, putting aside his fawning smile and resuming his usual chatter. "Are your parents back yet?" "Not yet, but they should be back soon." Zun Zun's parents usually return to the village at the end of the year, about a month earlier than the same date every year. "Uncle Hyosaburo, you came back early this year." "Well, because I missed Megumin a lot, I came back early this year. I can't help it, I just miss Megumin a lot." "Ha ha ha ha." He scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. Zun Zun instantly understood that the truth wasn't like that. At this moment, Wei entered the living room with a cup of steaming tea and said, "It's because no one wants the magic tools I made, and I didn't have enough money for the trip, so I had to return early, damn it." "Don't tell me in front of me." Hyosaburo suddenly became nervous, muttering things like, "It's not that no one wants it, it's that they don't know how to appreciate it, and magic tools are only sold to those who understand them," which made the three of them laugh, and the air was filled with joy. Suddenly, Hyosaboro's eyes lit up. "By the way, Zun Zun, your family does fortune-telling, right?" "Huh? Yes, is that true? Then tell me when my magic tools will be a hit and become coveted items." "Huh? Me?" Zun Zun pointed at his nose in disbelief. Then, he quickly refused. No, I'm not that good. My skills aren't up to par yet. I can't do fortune-telling like my parents and sister." "Hey, but Zun Zun, didn't you say you were good? You said earlier that you could predict demons." The little girl suddenly interrupted him. As if something had clicked, Hyosaboro shouted, "Predict demons?" As expected of the son of the Crimson Demon Clan's #1 fortune teller, your talent surpasses even your parents'. Who knows, you might even be able to predict the end of the world. Then, come on, I'm ready. The flattery, overflowing with chunyabao, and the expectant gazes of the three made it impossible for Zun Zun to refuse. Then, Zun Zun covered his bright crimson eyes with his hands and muttered in a low voice, "Hey, ha 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 ha. I didn't expect that they would find out after all. I clearly didn't want anyone to know, and I've been hiding it until now." What? This terrifying magical power. Could it be that the clan leader is right? Do you really possess the power to destroy the world? Hyosaboro was stunned. Hearing the clan leader's name, Zun Zun pursed his lips. Why is that old man dang everywhere? But the chunyabao continued. "Well, since you're so eager to know your future, let me, the supreme future diviner, guide you along the way. It's sure to be a thorny future, where the slightest misstep could land you in eternal damnation. Even so, do you still wish to know? I am the supreme magic tool master of the Crimson Demon Clan. How can I retreat here? If the desolate, dark night is my future, I'll gladly accept it. Come, I'm ready," as expected of a veteran of the Crimson Demon Clan. Whether it was Chunyabao or his control of speech and emotions, he is far superior to Zun Zun. So, Zun Zun's eyes were empty. Of course, he was pretending. Seizing the opportunity, Zun Zun spoke, "I saw it. That future is, what is it? A woman with incredibly broad page. She's fascinated by the magic tools Uncle Hyosaboro created and even sells them in her shop." "What are you talking about? It's impossible," Hyosaboro exclaimed, then hurriedly said, "Where is that person's shop? What's his name?" "His shop is in Axel. His name is, Zun Zun," like a piece of sticky tape, couldn't pronounce the person's name no matter how hard he tried. Then, the magic power emanating from him gradually dissipated, his crimson eyes returned to normal, and his completely blank expression returned. What did I just say? In short, he looked like a fortune teller. Hyosaboro looked elated at recognizing someone, muttering something unintelligible. Wei also seemed happy for her husband, covering her cheeks with her hands in a gesture of happiness. This couple was foolish. Only Megumin seemed somewhat uneasy and asked, "Zun Zun, were your divination results really correct?" "Of course. Who do you think I am?" Zun Zun patted his chest vigorously. He was referring to Wiz, a weak-willed lich girl with magnificent chest muscles, one of the generals in the Demon King's army. She admired Piao Saburo's magic tools and sold all the ones she bought at the shop. Thanks to his financial support, Megumin was barely able to survive. So Zun Zun wasn't lying. Piao Saburo slapped his thigh. "Mom, let's have a feast tonight. Zun Zun is here, so let's make a hearty dinner." "No problem, Dad. But we only have potatoes and corn right now, and I'll make them as delicious as I can." Wee Wee smiled and walked into the kitchen. Zun Zun wanted to refuse, but he couldn't refuse the kindness and had to stay for dinner. Wee Wee's cooking was quite good. Although the ingredients were simple, it was delicious, and he was very satisfied. Megumin felt the same. It had been so long since she had tasted her mother's cooking that she must have missed her. It was a warm and delicious dinner. After dinner, perhaps because of the fortune-telling, Piao Saburo was overjoyed, but that night he drank quite a bit. Wee Wei, who always forbade him from drinking, had rarely stopped him, and now he was fast asleep in his room. Wee Wei and Megumin went to see them off. "Zun Zun, thank you for taking care of Megumin all this time." "No, I'm here." Despite that, Zun Zun held a deep grudge against Piao Saburo and Wee Wei. If he felt sorry for Megumin, why did he insist on creating magic tools, leaving the family in poverty? Why did he leave Megumin alone at home, struggling to survive? Why? In short, Zun Zun had a lot to say. But this was Megumin's family matter, and he wouldn't interfere, nor was he in a position to. After that, Megumin came to eat every day as usual. Zun Zun was used to it, so he didn't say much. What was unexpected was that just a few days after meeting Megumin's parents, the girl told him that Piao Sanliang had planted a fruit in Wee Wei's belly, and that she might have a brother or sister. "No, friend. Did you do it on purpose or accidentally? Although they often say that when you are full and horny, you will think of, but you can't do that." Zun Zun could already imagine the scene of the girl bringing an even younger girl to her house for free meals, putting her own child in someone else's house for temporary care. Are you Anne with Dujun? Chapter 19 Divination. If this were a survival game, with comfortable housing and plentiful food, increasing the population would certainly be cause for celebration. But when he realized it was reality, not just game statistics, Zun Zun felt a mix of emotions. As the days passed, Wee Wei's belly grew, swelled like a small balloon. It seemed that Piao Sanliang had great farming skill, producing fruits so fleshy that they grew faster than the potatoes and corn Zun grew. Maybe the baby wouldn't be named Mimi, but Dao Dao, he thought wickedly. He wondered what magical powers Piao Sanliang had that allowed Wee Wei to keep him, and that they were about to have a second child. If some idiot had had such a hard life, he would have been kicked out a long time ago. "What did you say? Is Wee Wei a crimson demon?" "She's fine." The little girl was very happy lately, smiling much more often. It was all thanks to her parents being home. Besides, she was a little nervous, a little overwhelmed by how to be a good older sister and set a good example for her future brother or sister. Sister Taolao told her that she should just face it normally. After all, they were family, and if she always acted arrogantly, it would only cause unnecessary misunderstandings. No matter if she was good or bad, she was still his sister. It was unknown whether the girl listened to her or not, but she left with a sense of accomplishment. A few days later, her parents returned. Zun Zun didn't complain or blame his parents too much, as he had no name, age, or description of his appearance. Of course, with Sister Taolao around, he didn't feel lonely. But he was sincerely happy that his parents were back. Because he could get the New Year's money. Living in Red Devil Village didn't require money, but that didn't mean there was nowhere to spend it. As you get older, you always encounter problems, so having some money on hand makes you feel more at ease. After receiving the somewhat heavy envelope, his mother took something that looked like a building block out of her pocket and waved it in front of him. "Look, Zun Zun, I brought you some fun toys. This is one of the most popular building blocks in Alkenrisha right now. It has 10 different variations. How fun, Mom, I'm not a kid anymore." Zun Zun wasn't thrilled to receive the toys. "Huh?" His mother looked at the almost 8-year-old with a strange expression. Then, Sister Taolao told his parents about his farming career, which surprised them. When they heard that the harvest was enough to get the family through the winter, they looked at him strangely. And when Sister Taolao explained that his goal was to conquer the world, "You are worthy of being my son, farming at such a young age. Perhaps you will conquer the world one day." His mother hugged him excitedly. Zun Zun could only laugh insincerely. Her father clapped his hands. Oh, and another gift. Zun Zun, I bought you new clothes this year. New clothes? Zun Zun and Megumin were alike. They had to collect clothes from their family, as they never had any new ones. My longtime father, you finally listened to my heart. How about it, Zun Zun? Are you happy? Surprised? Surprised? Happy? Surprised? Surprised? Zun Zun was incredibly excited. And where is the dress? Here. Ding 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 ding. As if by magic, her father pulled a piece of clothing from his back and showed it to everyone. It was a particularly beautiful dress. Whether it was the style or the fabric, you could tell just by looking at it that it was exceptional. It would definitely look great on Zun Zun. I bet Mom and Dad spent a fortune on it. However, it was an off-the-shoulder dress. The father laughed triumphantly. Ha ha ha, what do you think? This is the dress I picked out myself. It's much better than the toys your mom prepared. He didn't notice that his son's eyes had gone out. After a moment of silence, Zun Zun picked up the fallen blocks and said, I love the blocks Mom gave me. Thanks, Mom. Great reading, Zun. Zun Zun. His father stared at the dress in his hands, dumbfounded, muttering to himself, isn't this dress pretty? I chose it very carefully, and the store said it's the latest style this year and it's super popular, but my dad, don't like it. His mother guessed why and quickly changed the subject. By the way, let's have our annual event. Have a fortune teller come. After all, they were a family of fortune tellers, so this was the only activity they could think of. However, fortune tellers are usually very inaccurate or simply unable to predict the fates of their relatives. Still, for the sake of family harmony, Mom and Dad celebrate this event with joy every year. Ahem, then let me guess, his father said pretentiously, taking out his crystal ball. His mother's fortune-telling skills were clearly far superior to his, but he was the one doing it every year, and he always had to act pretentious, spouting some obscure Chunibao slang. No matter. It's just a family event, meant to strengthen familial bonds. Zun Zun wouldn't believe it anyway. Oh, I saw it. Honey, you'll be traveling with me next year, guiding a new hero to defeat the Demon King. His name is Mitsurugi. Mitsurugi. Hey, why can't I see the name after that? I guess it's not that he doesn't see it, but that he just doesn't know how to make it up. Zun Zun rolled his eyes. Although it was a fabricated story, his mother was still very happy, with a radiant smile on her face. Zun Zun was very confused as to how his mother could have fallen in love with his father. After all, she was the most beautiful woman of the previous generation of the Crimson Demon clan. What do you mean? My mother is also a Crimson Demon. That's fine. The result of the divination for my sister is naturally that she will make progress in her studies, and it is very likely that she will learn advanced magic next year. It must be said that Sister Taolo is a genius. Even among the Crimson Demon clan, where everyone is a great magician by birth, Sister Taolo's talent is firmly at the top of the school. With her academic prowess and beauty, she is quite popular in school. Zun Zun is very proud of her. Finally, it was Zun Zun himself. Just when he expected his father to say kind words like, farming will be better than this year, or I'll be taller and smarter, he heard, Zun Zun, it seems that next year you'll be involved with 2 girls. Oh no, you look like you're dying. He stiffened, his fists clenched. Was this man really his father? He was being too immature in such a situation. Could he just say some simple, kind things and enjoy dinner happily? Oh no, Zun Zun, I saw it too. Sister Taolao was also holding a crystal ball, her delicate face filled with worry. As expected of Sister Taolao, your fortune-telling skills are amazing. Don't worry, I'll be more careful next year. Oh, Mother, Sister Taolao, dinner should be ready. Let's go eat. With that, he led them inside. Only the petrified figure of his father, as if struck by lightning, remained, solitary and defenseless under the fallen leaves. Chapter 20. So sweet. With the arrival of the new year, Zun Zun was already 8 years old. The year had flown by. A year had passed in just 10 chapters, something he had only ever seen in novels about cultivating immortals. If these were ordinary farming stories, his diary would have taken up at least hundreds of chapters. However, the Crimson Demon village was just a countryside, with nothing much to reminisce about. He spent every day farming or on his way to the fields, with nothing new happening. Wasn't that farming? It was then that he realized, with astonishment, that he had become so absorbed in farming that he had forgotten about farming. He farmed for the sake of farming, so forgetting about farming for the sake of farming wouldn't be putting the cart before the horse. He couldn't keep wasting time like this. Although he had already decided, it was winter, and he decided to enjoy the New Year's holiday for a while, one last moment of relaxation before the hard work. On New Year's Day, Zun Zun usually stayed at home. While the Crimson Demons held festivals and other celebrations, Zun Zun found them too noisy and troublesome, so he never went out. But this year, that was not the case. The little girl went to see him. There's an adventure, X3 faced with the deliberate tongue twisters of his unscrupulous parents and trapped sister, and the strange looks of encouragement, excitement, and joy. Zun Zun had no choice but to go out with the little girl. Zun Zun. Zun Zun finally has a friend. Mother is so happy. As a father, I am so happy. After all, Zun Zun has always been so withdrawn that it made me wonder if he was a loner in his past life. Sister, I am happy too. He heard these words as he left home. Why are you crying with excitement? Do you think I can't find a friend? I'm too lazy to search. Besides, the little girl isn't a friend, just a pet. Zun Zun pursed his lips. After leaving home, the two of them walked through the streets of the Crimson Demon tribe. Small Crimson Demon stalls were lined up on both sides of the street, selling items similar to those at the Libyan festival. Although the Crimson Demon tribe is a small village of only about 300 people, they've spared no effort to create a lively atmosphere. I heard that the village plans to turn Crimson Demon Village into a tourist attraction next year, and that they're currently in the early stages of preparations for the event. The little girl was fascinated by everything on the street. Suddenly, she froze at a stall, her gaze fixed on the merchandise. Her radiant crimson eyes, just like when she saw the meat curry, frightened even the stall owner. Hey, oh, Megumin, do you want some of this? Yes. Of course, then I'll give you one. Really? Thank you. The little girl took a caramel apple from the vendor and licked it with delight. She walked up to Zun Zun and boasted, every time I do this, the owner gives me some treats. Really? Zun Zun pursed his lips. It wasn't so much a gift as alms. He felt like her presence would hinder business, so he had to give her food and send her away. And judging by her skill, she must have done this many times. I really wanted to ask her if she still had any dignity left. But dignity couldn't satisfy hunger when survival was at stake. The two of them continued walking down the street. I thought the little girl would do the same and eat her fill, but surprisingly, she didn't. It wasn't because she had a conscience, but because she understood the unsustainable nature of resource depletion. The shops here were her source of reserve energy, and she had to use it up little by little. Upon hearing this, Zun Zun was completely taken aback. Crimson Demon Village is home to many famous attractions. For example, the Sacred Peak, Dragon Peak, the Evil God Graveyard, the Goddess's Sealed Land, the mysterious underground hangar. How could they all be forbidden? It was incredible how many dangerous places there were. But they weren't there naturally, many were sought after by the Crimson Demons. For example, the Evil God Graveyard. Because they thought it was cool to have an evil god sealed within the village, the Crimson Demons went there specifically to free him and then resealed him within Crimson Demon Village. For example, the observation deck, Vandermite, can be seen thousands of miles away. This powerful magical tool allows a clear view of the Demon King's castle from Crimson Demon Village. However, in order to develop tourism, the village has restricted the observation point to the Demon King's daughter's room, providing a 24-hour live feed. Therefore, the Crimson Demons are rightly hated by the Demon King's army. As they walked, they came across a shrine. Every new year, the people of Crimson Demon Village would come to pay their respects. The shrine is similar to the one in Tachimato, with a torii gate wide enough for two people to pass through at once. 10 meters from the torii gate is the main shrine. It is a small, ordinary shrine, but the words cat ears hanging above it completely ruin its solemn atmosphere. Even more outrageous, the shrine houses a figurine of a girl with cat ears. According to Sister Talao, long ago, the ancestors of the Crimson Demon clan rescued a traveler from a monster attack. The traveler gave them the statue as a token of gratitude, and the traveler remarked, "To me, this is something more important than my life." Although they were unaware of the deity's origin, the ancestors of the Crimson Demon clan, believing that it would undoubtedly bring blessings, simply enshrined the statue. Of course, this shrine was also built based on the traveler's description. Zun Zun would bet that the traveler was one of the time travelers sent by the idiot goddess, and a figurine-loving otaku at that. He couldn't help but cover his face. That was why he didn't want to leave. There are many similar places in Crimson Demon Village. For example, the Mixed Hot Springs, although it's neither a mixed bath nor a hot spring, just a normal public bath. And then there's the Succubus Lingerie Bar, without succubi or lingerie, just a normal tavern. In short, if you have high expectations, you'll definitely get hurt. It seems that the names of all these places were given by the same person, but unfortunately, neither Sister Talao nor anyone else is sure who it was. Perhaps it was because so much time had passed, or perhaps it was something else entirely. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it got dark. It was winter, and the days were short. Suddenly, boom! A violent explosion echoed at the entrance of the village, and fireworks of all colors burst into the sky. No, they weren't fireworks, but magic from the Crimson Demons. Simply casting magic was more appropriate for the Crimson Demons than spending money on fireworks. Of course, this was also an annual celebration of the Crimson Demons, celebrating the arrival of the new year. Megumin looked up, deep in thought, as she watched the dazzling magic explode in the sky. Then, Zun Zun took out a bag from his back and handed it to the girl beside him, saying, "Here, a New Year's gift." Gift? The girl looked at the bag with some surprise and then said awkwardly, "But I didn't bring anything." No. Zun Zun waved his hand. The girl's family was truly poor, preparing a gift was impossible. But, here, what for? For you. Megumin handed over the remaining half of the caramel apple. Seriously? Who cares about an already eaten caramel apple? Besides, it's a gift from the vendor, right? But this is all I have now, and it's delicious. He brought the caramel to her lips. Zun Zun looked at the stubborn little girl, then at the half-eaten caramel, and then, he took a bite, his eyes lighting up. So sweet. Right? Caramel apples are delicious. Megumin looked at the bag in her hand and asked, can I open it now? Whatever. After receiving the answer, the little girl opened the bag. It was Zun Zun's first time preparing a New Year's gift for someone. Before, he didn't prepare gifts except to convince his sister and parents, and he wasn't sure if the little girl would like it. He opened the bag, revealing a pair of blue and white gloves. What? It's not edible? The little girl felt a little disappointed. Good boy, you're still fussy. Zun Zun was a little annoyed, but then he thought she probably wanted food more than clothes or anything. If you don't like it, give it back. No, I like it. Megumin shook her head and put on the blue and white gloves. So warm, her cold hands were wrapped in the soft cotton fabric, and a hint of happiness crossed her face, slightly red from the cold. Chapter 21 The new toolman Yunyun is online. Spring has arrived, bringing life back to life, and it's breeding season for animals. Wait, isn't it a bit much to treat Aunt Wee Wee like an animal? While that's true, the fault lies entirely with Saburo. If he hadn't insisted on planting fruit in winter, why would he have had to farm alone this spring? Aunt Wee Wee is pregnant, and her belly is growing day by day. After winter, she has trouble moving and needs someone to take care of her, so Megumin has to come and help. You ask Saburo? I'm the head of the household. For the sake of my future child, I have to work even harder, he shouts, and then goes off to make magic tools again. They say he hasn't come home for a week. Why doesn't he understand that making magic tools only makes you purr? No, is it my fault? Is it because I said someone admired his magic tools that this happened? Zun Zun's expression was rather gloomy. But it wasn't much different, it was just a return to the days when Megumin was gone. Besides, the hard part of farming was over, so replanting would be much easier. Thinking of this, Zun Zun's steps became lighter, and he couldn't help but hum. La la la. La la la. I'm a master at farming. I don't wait for dawn to sow. I plant and dig at the same time. The weather is really nice today. I can sow 2 plots in half a day, he hummed as he walked toward the forbidden area. Then, on the path leading to the forbidden area, he saw a strange little girl. She was strange because she was crouching by the roadside, talking to herself. No, Rock, you can't bully your friends. You have to get along with them. Zeke, you stole the food again. You're leaving our friends with nothing to eat. Hulk, you have to eat more to get stronger. And Link, don't slack off while your friends are working hard. She wasn't talking to herself, but to a group of ants working hard to bring food. No, this isn't any different from talking to herself, is it? Ants. Recalling his memories of ants, Zun Zun could only recall a past life where he had repeatedly squashed them for fun, Or perhaps a past life where he had poured mercury into antholes to make beautiful specimens. Neither were worth mentioning. Zun Zun ignored her, nor did he try to get close to her. Perhaps he was having fun. It was just a minor incident on the way to farming, or so Zun Zun thought. However, ever since he arrived at the forbidden area, he had been dogged by the feeling that someone was watching him. Perhaps it was an effect of his divine body, but Zun Zun's 5 senses were exceptionally keen, allowing him to detect prying eyes. Then, halfway through farming, he stopped and looked toward the distant forest. "Hey, what are you doing hiding in there? Come out." "Wait, you're not planning to explore the area and steal the crops once they're ripe?" Zun Zun's expression changed slightly. He'd already had one thief. If another appeared, he'd be furious. The person hiding in the forest, hearing Zun Zun's words, quickly jumped up, denying it desperately. No. I didn't mean to steal." "Ah, it's you." The person who appeared before him was none other than the little girl who had been talking to the ant. He hadn't looked at her carefully before, but now Zun Zun observed her more closely. She had straight black hair and the red eyes typical of crimson demons. Her face was adorable, if a little shy and vulnerable, her cheeks flushed with excitement at being mistaken for a thief. Zun Zun scratched his head. "Then why were you hiding there? By the way, it was you who followed me earlier, wasn't it?" The girl hesitated, interlacing 2 fingers in her abdomen, stuttering and unable to speak. Seeing this, Zun Zun asked, "Are you planning to steal?" "No." "Then why? Tell me quickly." "No. Well, this is a forbidden area. A terrible evil god is sealed here. It's an extremely dangerous place. Did your parents tell you not to trespass so easily?" She hesitated at first, then became more fluid, even accusing him of something. Somehow, she felt a bit like the good student he had always imagined. Zun Zun immediately realized that she had followed him because she was worried about him. "What? Really, huh? You don't know? The places the Crimson Demons say are forbidden, empty, and forbidden are usually full of hidden treasures. The adults want us to play there." "Aha." The girl looked surprised. Oh, she didn't seem to understand the romance of the Crimson Demons. Was she really a Crimson Demon child? No, judging from her signature black hair and red eyes, she was definitely a Crimson Demon. "Then, what are you doing here? You'll know just by looking at me." "I'm farming." She opened her mouth, but said nothing. Zun Zun understood what she meant. It was simply something about why we had to farm here, because it was forbidden ground. Could he tell her that this place was particularly suitable for farming? The girl stared blankly at the half-cultivated field. Suddenly, a hoe appeared in front of her. You seem so absorbed. Don't you want to join in, No, no need to say anything. I understand everything. Come, let's farm together." And so, under Zun Zun's guidance, the girl inexplicably followed him, farming until the sun was high in the sky. During the lunch break, the 2 of them rested in the shade behind the altar. Zun Zun handed the bedraggled girl a bottle of water to replenish their lost fluids. The girl thanked him and drank the warm, slightly salty water. They simply enjoyed their free time. "Well, resting after all that work is nice, right?" Yes, the girl nodded and suddenly asked, "Oh, I have a question." "What? Why don't you use magic to farm?" Her words shocked Zun Zun. "Why not?" The reason was simple, they didn't know magic. Neither Zun Zun nor Sister Tao Lao had mastered it yet, so how could they farm with magic? After being hid on the chair, Zun Zun could only reply with this, "Don't ask about farming." Perhaps sensing the resentment in Zun Zun's tone, the girl nodded and said nothing more. Suddenly. "By the way, I don't even know your name." "How sudden?" Zun Zun's sudden question made her uneasy, but she obediently stood up and introduced herself politely. "Nice to meet you. I'm Yunyun." "Oh, I'm Zun Zun." "Wait, Yunyun? You're the clan leader's daughter?" Yes, that old man Deng." Thinking of that face, Zun Zun clenched his fists. But wasn't it said that misfortune should not befall the family? Even if he held a grudge against the clan leader, he shouldn't have indirectly taken his anger out on Yunyun. Then, Zun Zun's eyes flashed crimson as he moved closer to the girl's face, pressing his hands against her slender shoulders. He spoke softly, "Yunyun, you have to work on the farm with me tomorrow as well. I'll wait for you, eh?" Okay. Faced with such pressure, Yunyun agreed without thinking. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Useful Friends. Dense clouds covered the sky, giving the impression that rain would fall at any moment. Amidst this atmosphere, 3 crimson demons stood aloof, wands in hand and expressions serious. "It's time to begin," one of the elder sisters shouted from afar. Hearing her words, the other 2, scattered elsewhere, raised their hands in a gesture. After confirming their presence, the elder sister plunged her wand into the earth and then, "Use my magical power as a means of nourishment. Grant this land fertile soil. Shake the earth." Following this dramatic phrase, she chanted loudly, and earth-attributed magic instantly enveloped the vast land before her. The ground rippled, trembled, and vibrated with the movement. The sorceress turned the earth at will, expanding the vast expanse before them, completing the tilling. Yes, it was only tilling. He had expended so much magical power, chanted such exaggerated words, all to till a single plot of land. But he wasn't done yet. After seeing the earth stop moving, another of the 3 crimson demons stepped forward with a large box. He placed it on the ground, raised his wand, and shouted vehemently, "Oh, air, wind, howl and rage. Follow my will. Take to the skies." Storm. Imbued with enough magical energy to shake the heavens, the wind magic swept up the contents of the box and scattered them across the plowed land. Yes, this was just sowing. Beholding this magnificent sight, the man nodded in satisfaction and greeted the last man. "My omnipotent power can alter the laws of the world and control the weather with a single hand." Atmospheric manipulation. With the last man's powerful voice, rain began to fall from the dark, cloudy sky. Yes, this was irrigation. Although it was simple farm work, everyone lavished their magical energy, cultivating the land with powerful magic. The entire Crimson Demon village's food supply came from around 10 farmers. It must be remembered that this village has several hundred inhabitants, and the food for these hundreds of peoples produced grandly and magnificently in the vast agricultural area now spread out before Zun Zun. Perhaps this is what they call a waste of magical talent. Magic is so powerful. Yes, magic is so convenient. Yes, I wish I could use magic. Yes. Yunyun looked at Zun Zun, whose eyes had already dimmed, and didn't know how to comfort him. This morning, he had merely mentioned indifferently that the villagers would come to the agricultural area to use magic to grow crops, and if they were interested, they could come and observe. This was how both of them viewed the magnificent and unusual agriculture. Zun Zun was devastated and withdrew into himself. It was natural. Like when you gloat over solving a 6th grade math problem and then see your classmates easily solve university calculus, you feel like a loser. "I should stop farming from now on." "No, not so much, this, that." Yunyun wanted to say something comforting, but the words didn't come out. It seemed like he wasn't good at comforting others. "HMPH, I just said it like it was nothing. How could such a small incident affect me?" Zun Zun raised his head proudly. He still wanted to be a god of support. Not only did he support his family, but Megumin also needed his help. How could he stop farming because of such a small setback? But the vegetables are so vibrant this year, Yunyun couldn't help but sigh. Following her gaze, Zun Zun also looked over. In another field, potatoes were being planted. As the little potatoes scurried away to avoid the Crimson Demon farmer, another potato struck the back of his knee, causing him to fall to the ground. Actually, the village is cultivating rare ingredients. Well, they are the Crimson Demons after all. That's true. They already used high-level magic that consumed a lot of energy to cultivate, so why would they be able to cultivate rare ingredients? And according to what Sister Talao told, the villagers even wholesaled them as merchandise to other villages, making a tidy profit. This widened the gap even further. Zun Zun's face darkened. "Yunyun, we have to work harder and cultivate better and more, huh?" Okay. Yunyun didn't know why the elder sister in front of him had given him a competitive advantage, but, driven by her presence, he subconsciously agreed. Back in the forbidden area, Zun Zun worked with all his might, while Yunyun imitated him, bewildered and mechanical, clearly oblivious to the reason for his work. But he managed to keep up. The sun set, and the two of them, exhausted, called it a day on their farming journey. Yunyun was stronger than expected, possessing far more stamina than Megumin, making her a perfect tool, no, a companion. "Well, let's stop for today," Well, Yunyun agreed, panting slightly. Her face was grimy, her clothes stained with mud, a stark contrast to her previous adorable self. But this is a necessary sacrifice. If you want something, you have to pay something. This is the truth of the world. As he put away the farming tools, Zun Zun suddenly froze. The other members of the Red Demon clan used magic to farm, but he used a hoe and a shovel. It was like high-tech combat with bladed weapons. No matter how you looked at it, he couldn't win, right? And it was magic even more mysterious than high-tech. What's wrong? Nothing. Let's go home. Okay, Yunyun nodded obediently. The two of them walked slowly home. Perhaps it was because of the stimulation, but Zun Zun worked very hard in the fields today and felt much more tired than usual. Let's quickly go home, cook, shower, and get a good night's sleep. Thinking of this, Zun Zun stopped at the door and looked at Yunyun, who was still following him, a little dumbfounded. Why did you follow me? Hey, it was Zun Zun who said he wanted to go home with you. Huh? Did I hear it wrong? No, I heard it. And Yunyun, you'd better be more careful. If you get kidnapped by someone with bad intentions, you could be in danger. Zun Zun saw someone's shadow in her. But wouldn't it be a bad idea to send her away now? Suddenly, Sister Teolio's voice came from behind. Zun Zun, what are you doing here? Why don't you go home? Could it be a friend? He knew it. Seeing Sister Teolio covering her mouth with her hands, her eyes shining brightly, Zun Zun's face twisted. Friend. Yunyun also seemed somewhat excited, then looked at Zun Zun nervously. I'm not a friend. She had barely finished speaking when she saw Yunyun's face, almost crying in pain, and quickly corrected herself. A friend. Yunyun is a very useful friend. Hearing this, Yunyun's tearful face instantly transformed into a smile. Only Sister Teolio was a little puzzled. A useful friend. Chapter 23. I was first. Obviously I was first. It's a new year. Zun Zun wants to grow something different. It's not that corn and potatoes are bad, they're excellent staples, but he needs to consider crop rotation, a method of rotating different crops or combinations of crops between seasons and years to ensure the soil's vitality. Besides, corn planting is in June, and he can't wait that long for the land to go to waste. And Megumin's food reserves won't last until then. Rather, judging by the rate at which they're consuming it, he should be starving by now. It's just that there are still 4 months until corn planting, and he doesn't quite know what to plant in the meantime. Looking at the 3 cultivated plots, he asked his good and helpful friend, his face red with sweat, You, what do you think we should plant? Huh? Ask me? Yes. Well, how about some soy? Well, that's a great idea. Wait, soy? The ones with the jumping scales, the ones that get so plump and delicious in autumn, that's the one, right? Yunyun tilted her head cutely, confused by Zun Zun's constipated appearance. Don't look down on me. Although Zun Zun wanted to say that, the soy in this world grew in fields. There were soy in the Crimson Demon's farming areas too, and those lively fish were quivering in the fields, making the grass look especially lush. Can't we grow something normal? But soy is already normal. It's just a normal crop. I'm not saying soy is abnormal. I'm saying it's abnormal to have fish growing in a field. Forget it. You don't understand. Goddess, this world's farming system has a massive flaw. Seeing Yunyun's puzzled expression, Zun Zun felt as if he was talking to a wall. No, just like Yunyun, who claims to be a freak from the Crimson Demon clan but is actually the only normal person in the Crimson Demon clan, is he also a freak? Perhaps the closer he looks, the more confused he will be, and then he will end up saying, I don't know, what should he do? Perhaps sensing Zun Zun's reluctance, Yunyun changed the subject and suggested, well, let's plant chestnuts. Although they might attract many chestnut monsters, and chestnuts are covered in thorns and difficult to harvest, they are very nutritious and expensive. Everyone in the Crimson Demon village grows them. Forget it, let's plant corn and potatoes. After much thought, Zun Zun gave up. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but rather that the conditions didn't allow it. Without magic, growing rare ingredients always comes with risks. As for planting soy in the fields, it was too shocking and a bit hard for her to accept. Besides, this was a magical world. If the soil wasn't nutritious enough, wouldn't magic solve the problem? Yunyun didn't object. No, she didn't care what he planted, just being with her friends was what made her happy. The two of them worked all morning. During the lunch break, Zun Zun took out the lunchbox he had prepared for the day, A tempura set. Tempura is easy to make. Simply coat the ingredients in a thin layer of batter and fry them in oil until crispy. Today's set included shrimp, okra, potatoes, eggplant, and more, a truly hearty feast. And since he had a big appetite, he had prepared quite a bit. He handed the lunchbox over. Please, thank you. Yunyun took the lunchbox carefully, her expression as nervous as if she were holding a treasure. Could this be the first time she had received a gift? If Yunyun had said that she planned to treasure the bento for the rest of her life, Zun Zun would have burst into tears. To prevent this, she quickly said, "Try it. I'm very confident in my cooking." Okay. Yunyun picked up the fried shrimp with a reverent look and slowly brought it to her mouth. She ate gracefully, evident in her good manners, a stark contrast to Megumin, who would fly into rage and gorge herself. So delicious. Yunyun's eyes lit up, and she became a little excited. As expected, everyone who tried the food you cooked would praise your cooking. Really? I'm so glad you like it. Zun Zun remained expressionless. Ever since her reincarnation in Suqing, her cooking had been incredibly delicious, and inexplicably so. After all, her cooking hadn't improved, and she didn't use high-quality ingredients, making him wonder if she had any skill in making delicious meals. Unfortunately, he didn't have a class card that demonstrated the corresponding skill. But improving one's culinary skills isn't a bad thing, at least it satisfies one's appetite. While they were enjoying their delicious lunch, they didn't notice someone stealthily appear behind them. It wasn't until he heard a slightly rapid gasp and a mouthful of what felt like saliva that he suddenly turned his head. Then, he saw a pair of scarlet eyes. Wow, excuse Zun's unseemly shout, but for a ghostly man, he would rather see a horde of zombies outside the window than a pair of embroidered shoes at the door. So seeing those crimson eyes frightened Zun to the point where he trembled, his hands and feet freezing from the scorching heat and his entire body sweating. But seeing who it was, he breathed a sigh of relief, unable to resist calling out, "What are you doing?" Now, it was Megumin. However, she didn't greet him as usual. Instead, she lowered her head and remained silent. Her long bangs obscured her eyes, projecting a faint red light, mixed with a deep, dark aura. Way, Megumin. Zun Zun couldn't help but take a step back. Seeing the little girl with an axe, he couldn't help but tremble, afraid that she would say, "Let's split it up," but why did it come to this? I was the first, it was clearly me. Whether it was farming or eating lunch together, I was always the first. Was it all in vain? The little girl's crimson eyes bore into Yunyun. Her body trembled slightly, and the axe she was holding swayed with it, reflecting a bright, cold light under the midday sun. Yunyun was speechless with fear, clutching her lunchbox, paralyzed. Suddenly, Megumin, axe in hand, pounced at Yunyun. No, Zun Zun quickly stretched out his hand, trying to stop Megumin from doing anything foolish, but the possessed girl didn't listen. She rushed toward Yunyun without hesitation, snatching the lunchbox from her. Huh? Yunyun stared at her empty hands, visibly confused by what had happened. But when she turned around and saw Megumin, her head buried in her lunchbox, devouring it, her fear faded, replaced by a wave of grievance that made her cry. Tears fell uncontrollably. Chapter 24. This is 8 years old. After Megumin devoured the lunchbox she had snatched from Yunyun, she burped contentedly. Her eyes, red with excitement, dimmed, and her beastly aura dissipated. Zun Zun couldn't help but ask, "How long have you gone without eating?" "Since yesterday morning. I've only eaten a bowl of porridge with only 3 grains of rice. I haven't eaten anything since." "Isn't that just kanji?" "No, you can even count the rice." "It's not even kanji?" Megumin's expression was impassive, leaving Zun Zun speechless. He had never imagined that the little girl's family would run out of food so quickly. It must have had a lot to do with Aunt Weiwei's pregnancy. And besides, what did you mean by those words? "My mother taught me. She says that if someone wants to take something that belongs to you, saying something like that is very effective. Aunt Weiwei must be a very experienced white expert." "White expert?" The little girl looked confused, not understanding what the white expert meant, and looked at Yunyun, who was sobbing beside her. "Why is she crying?" "It's because someone rushed out and snatched someone else's lunchbox like crazy. That's why she's crying." "Huh?" Megumin looked down at the empty, shiny lunchbox in her hands, suddenly remembering what she had just done. She turned to look at Zun Zun uncertainly. "Is it my fault? That's why I told you not to take it." Zun Zun spread his hands. "It's not the little girl's fault. It's well known that people can do anything when they're really hungry, and Megumin, who has been hungry for a long time, is even more so. No wonder. The original Megumin wasn't like this. Even if she was starving, she wouldn't steal others' things, but she obviously acted just now. How should I put it? When I saw them eating their lunchboxes, I felt very sad. She felt sad because something that belonged to her had been taken away, and she saw them eating their lunchboxes so close together. Could it be? Because that lunchbox was for me. That means it's mine, so I didn't do anything wrong. It's not your lunchbox, it's mine for Yunyun. And you haven't forgotten the saying, no work, no food. No, it wasn't jealousy or anything. Zun Zun, a little embarrassed and angry, flicked the girl's forehead. That hurts, Megumin cried out in pain, but she still apologized to Yunyun sincerely. I'm sorry I stole your lunchbox. I'll compensate you, but my family is poor, so if possible, I'd like to compensate you with work. It was the same excuse she had given the first time they met. She couldn't help but wonder if the girl always used that excuse, trying to profit from it. No, it's just a minor matter. No, I don't mind. With tears in her eyes, Yunyun timidly rejected Megumin's seriousness. She wasn't good at dealing with serious people. Or rather, she wasn't good at dealing with everyone. After being forgiven, Megumin asked Zun Zun curiously. By the way, who is she? Asking me now? Forget it. Let me introduce you. It's Yunyun, the new helper I found after you left. A very useful friend, Megumin repeated suspiciously. Yunyun also felt something was wrong, but she didn't know what. Suddenly, the little girl stared at Yunyun's chest and said, Excuse me, how old are you? 8 years old. What's wrong with you, 8 years old? Isn't that the same age as me? Megumin suddenly cried out. The sharp voice startled Yunyun, and the fierce gaze forced her to cover her chest and take a step back. Speaking of which, although Yunyun was the same age as them, she was different in other ways. For example, her enviable page. While they weren't as broad as her sisters, they were far better than Megumin's flat, runway-like ones. The little girl, however, was naturally hostile toward those with broader page than her own, so she showed obvious hostility. Zun Zun quickly laughed. Yunyun, meet Megumin, a very useful friend. Yes, that's right. Yunyun looked a little disappointed, as if her friend's status had been taken away. Then, Zun Zun said, if possible, you two might as well be friends. This guy's an enemy. The little girl suddenly stared at her, saying, there's a saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so the friend of my friend is my enemy. Is that so? Yunyun looked incredibly confused. No way. Where's that coming from? Zun Zun rolled her eyes. Hey, Megumin, why do you say that, really? Because he took my job, and most importantly, he has enviable page. The girl held a deep grudge at that, then let out a low, inexplicable laugh. Ha, I see. I understand. What do you understand? This is definitely a declaration of war against me, a provocation. Well, the rule of the Crimson Demon Clan is to fight back. I'll test those arrogant page of yours. Megumin pounced on Yunyun, completely oblivious to the mud on her body, and they engaged in a fierce fight, oblivious to their surroundings. The girl's main target was Yunyun's chest, which dominated her field of vision, and her attacks were truly shocking. Seeing this, Zun Zun couldn't help but sigh. What a sweet bond. I didn't expect them to become so passionate about each other right after meeting each other. No, it's not true. Help. 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 Although Yunyun was taller than Megumin, and her strength and physique were considerably greater, her experience and combat skills were far inferior to Megumin's, who had been foraging in the forest since she was a child. Just 2 or 3 blows were enough to render Yunyun completely limp. We won. The girl stood up, raised her right hand into a fist, and raised her head proudly, like a victorious general. It seemed that the two of them had just established a superiority-subordination relationship. Zun Zun held the sobbing Yunyun and scolded, Megumin, why are you bullying me? What are you talking about? She's an enemy. Isn't it a bit of an exaggeration to say that you're an enemy of your tribe? At least use the word rival. Rival? Yes. After recalling this, Megumin thought seriously for a moment, then pointed at the sobbing Yunyun and said, okay, I admit that you're my rival. You seem to be on par with me, but don't get so cocky. I'll catch up soon. The girl pointed her finger at Yunyun's chest. So she still cares about this? Chapter 25 Meeting the Parents. Megumin quickly left. The girl's appearance made Zun Zun suspect that she was simply starving and had come to eat because she remembered him in the forbidden area. Although she had declared her right to farming, she unfortunately had to go back to chopping wood. That was why she held the axe. After Megumin left, Yunyun seemed a little distracted, glancing outside from time to time, as if looking for someone. If you mind so much, do you want to visit her later, huh? Zun Zun suddenly asked, confused. It's Megumin's house. I'll visit her later, and if you want to go, I'll take you with me. Isn't that bad? Isn't it rude to visit someone else's house without permission? Shouldn't you send a business card first, and then choose an auspicious day? Are you a young lady from somewhere? No. Considering Yunyun is the daughter of the clan leader, judging by her status, she seems like a young lady. Zun Zun wiped the sweat from his face and said naturally, no need to be so formal, just a casual visit. What do you think? Do you want to go? Yes, Yunyun thought for a long time and nodded slowly. It was very difficult for him to make friends. After replanting the land, Zun Zun didn't go directly to Megumin's house. Instead, he went back first to pick corn, potatoes, and other vegetables. Aunt Weiwei was pregnant and needed more food, and Megumin's family was running out of food, so they urgently needed Zun Zun's help. My goodness, start. On the way, Yunyun was a little nervous. Well, shall I prepare some gifts? What should I prepare for my first visit? I have some money, but I can't afford expensive gifts. If possible, her murmuring made Zun Zun curl his lips. Hey, shall we go meet the parents? How serious? Zun Zun saw her as a future son-in-law visiting his father-in-law's house for the first time, a poor son-in-law who didn't have much money and was afraid his gifts wouldn't be appreciated. Oh no, I glanced in the mirror unintentionally. You don't need to prepare anything, I'm already prepared. After all, you're with me. Zun Zun waved his hand, pointing at the basket in his hand. Megumin wanted food more than expensive gifts. They arrived at the hill in front of Megumin's house. Megumin's house was at the foot of the mountain, her family was alone, and then there was another house a little further away, which I think was Broccoli's. Huh? Is this Megumin's stable? But where is her home? Yunyun said something heartbreaking. And when Zun Zun said that this ramshackle house, little better than a stable, was Megumin's home, his expression suddenly became complicated. Yes, that expression. The same one she had when she caught her sister and saw this house. Although I know you won't say it, I want to warn you. Please don't say it in front of Megumin. I won't say it, Yunyun said with a hint of dissatisfaction. Zun Zun wasn't worried. After all, she was the daughter of the clan leader and the only normal person, weirdo, in the Crimson Demon clan. Her manners and etiquette were sure to be impeccable. She knocked on the door. The sound of trotting echoed from inside, and when the door opened, Megumin appeared. Hey, Zun Zun, and, who are you, Yunyun? Didn't we just meet? Excuse me, I still remember your face, but not your name. But just now, it suddenly occurred to me that you are my defeated opponent, Yunyun. No, Yunyun's eyes moistened. I wondered if she regretted coming to visit. Zun Zun asked, where's Aunt Weiwei? Isn't she home? Yes, Megumin pushed the door open for them and beckoned them in. Zun Zun walked in without hesitation, handing the basket she was carrying to them. The little girl's eyes lit up at the sight of the food. Yunyun seemed a little hesitant and asked cautiously, can I come in too? Of course, I won't go so far as to refuse visitors. But next time you come, please bring a gift. A gift? Yes, and I'd like something to eat, please. Okay, I got it. It would have been fine if the little girl had asked seriously, but Yunyun took it at face value. Their dynamic was truly strange. Stepping into Megumin's house, Zun Zun was prepared for the deplorable state of the place, but Yunyun was a little surprised and intrigued. If nothing unexpected happened, it would be her first time entering someone else's house. Incidentally, when she met Sister Talao at Zun Zun's door, Yunyun wasn't invited in. Weiwei was resting in the living room, her belly already swollen. A gentle smile spread across her face upon seeing the two of them. Zun Zun, you're here? Yes, Aunt Weiwei. How are you feeling lately? Very well. Zun Zun also noticed that she looked well. It seemed that although Piao Sanliang was obsessed with creating strange magical items and hadn't paid much attention to her, at least with Megumin around, Wei Wei hadn't been discouraged. Of course, this was largely due to Zun Zun's efforts. You brought food again. Thank you, Zun Zun. Of course, you're welcome. Megumin is my good friend. Hearing Zun Zun's words, his smile widened. Then, looking at the reserve girl beside her, she asked curiously, who is? It's Yunyun, the clan leader's daughter, and never, let me meet you. I'm Yunyun. Please be gentle. Yunyun closed her eyes and steeled herself. She could sense her nervousness, like a father-in-law scrutinizing a prospective son-in-law. Luckily, her imposing father-in-law, no, Piao Sanlang hadn't arrived yet, and it was Wei Wei who greeted her. Otherwise, Yunyun would have been frightened and speechless. The clan leader's daughter, Wei Wei's expression was one of surprise. She hadn't expected the clan leader's daughter to be there, and she was definitely curious about his relationship with her. What is your relationship with Megumin, huh? The question startled Yunyun. In truth, she had no idea what his relationship with Megumin was. She had merely followed Zun Zun's invitation. She looked at the person she had been asked to follow, pleadingly. Zun Zun pursed her lips. Shouldn't they have been called friends by now? If you insist, friends, rivals, the girl suddenly interrupted. Such outrageous remarks left the three present stunned. Yunyun stole my job, then my lunch, and those damn pages dangling right in front of me are surely a provocation, aren't they? She stared at Yunyun's chest. This was undoubtedly the reason why the girl was so hostile to her. Megumin grew increasingly angry. I understand everything. Is it a provocation? I keep talking, but that thing keeps jumping. Damn it, look at me. Then, she threw Yunyun to the ground again. Yunyun shouted, no, it's not a provocation. Wei Wei and Zun Zun, who were present, had already seen everything and couldn't help but sigh. You two have a very good relationship, X2. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.